You guys try to get on me for being late, 30 seconds late. What if I just started the stream 2 minutes early? That has to buy me some future goodwill. You are on the Ship Chasing channel. We are drafting FFPC main event teams. And of course, we have one of our favorites. We just talked shop with him a week or so ago, and now he is here to draft a main event team with us. It is, of course, Shawn Siegele. We have drawn the 105 slot here in the main event. Maybe we'll piss a little yellow tonight. Maybe we'll trigger people with more running back picks. Only time will tell.
Pat Fryer-Helmuth.
This is why I'm hot.
Anita Handjob.
Fix your sight.
Jamar. Alpha play chase.
Are you kidding me? Kadarius Toney?
You can't handle the heat.
It looks like we're finally at this point. You're right.
What a treat getting Shawn Siegele on the Ship Chasing airwaves in back-to-back weeks. Shawn, I would say welcome back, but we left the seat nice and warm for you. Welcome back.
Well, I'm excited. I mean, this is it, right? This is going to be my first main event, hopefully of many, but it does feel like the $1 million draft.
Let's
There
go.
you go.
We haven't even started.
There you go. I wanted to ask.
What are you guys going to do with your 250,000?
250 become very insufferable. Would be one of the first things I would do. I haven't really thought. FFPC has this marketing campaign going on right now where they say they're not going to tell you what to do with the million, and I do appreciate that. I feel like it would be weird if they told us what to do with it. But then they also suggested getting a yacht, and I did actually do a little Googling to see if I could buy a yacht for $600,000. I'm thinking post taxes, but then I was like, you're right, I got to share it with these guys. So I think the yacht's out unless we all want to collectively go in on a yacht together.
It probably still wouldn't be that good of a yacht.
It'd be a pretty bad yacht, probably.
It's a pretty bad yacht. My dream though is, how about this? If we win the million, we have to host a Ship Chasing cruise. I think that's just something we absolutely have to do.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
We could do that. Shawn, I am curious, like, what your volume is going to be in main events. Do you have kind of a target number? Do you just kind of pick your spots? Obviously, you're going to be co-managing with the RotoViz guys, but will you just randomly be like, I'm going to hop in a main event team tonight, or are you kind of already all sketched out for that?
Well, a little bit of both. I'm hoping to do about 10. I think that would be a good number for this year. That would be more than I've done since, 2010 to 2014-ish. I was able to do 10, 15. But since getting heavier into some of the other stuff, it hasn't really been possible. But I think that this year could be the time. This is a fantastic contest. You're talking about, how do we split the million? But the total prize money of this and a few other things will be above 1 million, right? So we can make it stretch a little bit farther.
You're saying if we win this, we'll probably also win something else.
Yeah. Take down some type of underdog contest.
This is why Sean's not a portfolio guy, is because when he wins, he wants to win multiple millions of dollars across different sites.
He needs the full yacht. He needs the nice yacht. That's like multiple layers and has a butler.
Oh, so good. So good. So Shawn, obviously you've been looking, I assume, at some of the boards, some of the early main event ADP. We are definitely in training camp is impacting Stuff Zone. We've seen Isaiah Pacheco go super early. Anything else just from a macro standpoint jumping out to you in these early drafts?
We are seeing, especially in this FFPC format, with the higher stakes drafts, that the running backs are being elevated, especially ones who are playing well. I think in the last 3 days, which I have up on the RotoViz ADP tool, both the FBG and the main event, Pacheco 9-12, right? So you have to really go after him if you want him there. He's starting to encroach on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which probably not wrong. If he's good enough to knock out some of these other guys, there's no reason that CEH would be standing in his way. So yeah, you have to be aggressive. That round 8 area is almost all running back. Done some other drafts with similar formats recently where, that wide receiver avalanche push these guys down. It'll be interesting to see how this goes today, because I think that we do have to consider that at least when we're looking at some of our earlier picks. Now, the flip side of that is that some of the guys we like at wide receiver in round 7, 8, 9, 10 are going to be there, where they haven't been maybe in some other drafts, some other formats. So I'm excited for that. It gives us a lot of flexibility, and we are in a spot where how we play the elite tight ends could really then start to determine how we go overall for a build. And so we've looked through this. We have some guys we like, and it should be fun.
There's a big question here in the chat about the forecast in your area tonight, last week. Massive lightning storms. You mentioned to me earlier, we were recording earlier today, that you were still having some big storms last night. It's monsoon season. How's it looking tonight?
I think it's going to be clear, but I was nervous because that did knock me out for a while last week. Some of the lightning, I think it came through, but some of the lightning seemed like it was awfully close. Survived that one, had some serious lightning last night, but I think clear skies. I think we're going to be good.
Better not come up during the 0 RB targets. That's what we are hoping to.
If I recall correctly, wasn't the Thunder during the Rojo conversation?
Yes.
So it literally portended an ominous ADP slide for Ronald Jones, Sean. I mean, you did this. You smited our person.
I haven't drafted him since that conversation. So
yeah. Oh my goodness.
I have not either, and obviously we've all gotten some shots at very good prices. So,
well,
tonight's the night.
We are a few seconds away from being underway here. Like I said, we had the 105. Last night, we found ourselves in some very precarious spots from the 1-8 after Diggs went ahead of ADP. I don't think we're going to get quite as boxed out in the first round as we did last night. But like Sean said,
most comfortable spot. Like, I'm so comfortable. Right.
104, I think, is slightly more comfortable. Slightly.
Yeah.
You don't have Chase in the top 4.
I don't have Chase in my top 4.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, people are taking Justin Jefferson over Cooper Kupp these days, so if you want Jefferson, you got to take him.
I know the ETR guys, they don't have Chase in their top, like, elite tier. You know, for me, it's been kind of a top 5 at the top. I've seen kind of opinions vary on that. If it is 4 or 5 deep, we're going to find out tonight. So it does go pretty chalk. CMC, JT, Kupp, and Jefferson. Anyone going to make a case for a non-Jamar Chase pick here?
I was thinking Derrick Henry tonight.
Sean, any thoughts? Galaxy brain thoughts here? Is just Chase the obvious smash?
I think it's got to be Chase, right? I was going to ask, even if he's not badly injured, could you take Austin Eckler above Kupp if Kupp was the choice? Because I do think that actually is a bigger concern for me than Jamar Chase here. I mean, if everybody's healthy, then Kupp is both safer and higher upside. But Chase also opens up some interesting things kind of overall. I think he's going to go 1,707.
Let's go.
Let's do it. We are going to add Jamar Chase.
You scored at least 10 touchdowns. That was
that's a bearish projection from Sean.
Well, I mispronounced the 17. Sorry.
So the injury, you mean Stafford's elbow? That's what has you worried about Kupp?
It is,
yeah. Sean, I don't know if you caught wind. So last night we started Eckler, Najee from the 8 spot, much to the shock, some dismay, some horror of our audience. I mean, what do you think of that back half there and some of those interesting decision points where all the tight ends get wiped? I'm guessing, do you go Adams or Lamb there in that spot where we took Eckler, or would you have taken Eckler there too?
I think you probably have to take Eckler. I think once Eckler is gone, though, Devontae Adams becomes still a very compelling choice. I think that obviously you lose Aaron Rodgers, you lose that crazy upside. You have to knock him down a few points per game, but I think you can hold a lot of the rest of it. I think that Derek Carr is a little bit underrated. He needs that guy to get him the touchdowns. And so it kind of works both directions there to where it elevates Carr. And I think that Carr being better than perception keeps Devontae Adams in that range. I think Devontae Adams is an elite talent, not someone who is merely propped up by Aaron Rodgers. So that part of it I like. I recently took Lamb and Adams with the 11th and 14th picks in a draft. Lamb's numbers, and I kind of wrote about it today. I mean, he didn't hit the crazy upside that I think we all kind of expected last year. And Pete, I know it was extremely frustrating for you as you had him on a team that was in the mix for a huge pot. And Lamb actually did not have a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 performance last year in the fantasy playoffs, which is kind of hard to fathom.
Yeah.
But and I don't necessarily tend to buy the idea that targets are going to come from the lack of teammates. But I do think that he just has to take the next step from a target volume perspective. And last year we did see, talk about the yards per route run, which obviously is partially targets per route, partially, being able to get yards per target. His yard per target numbers up there with Devontae Adams. You add in a portion of just extra target generating capacity, which he obviously has in him. He was good before the catch, good after the catch. That
He's
upside that you need from the wide receiver there, should be the guy.
He's going to add routes, too. He's a lock to add routes. Hey, guys, 108 on Najee Harris. I mean, it's kind
all
of,
I'm seeing here is we got 2 first-round picks.
We got 2 first-round picks. That's right.
Picks last night.
We got 2 top 8 picks last night, okay?
Yeah.
That's why we did it.
It definitely is a much different room. Shelley last night took Diggs at, I believe, was it 6 or was it 7? I believe he took him at 6. Yeah. And so to have Harris and Cook go here definitely makes me think maybe it's a slightly different room. Although, how many times have we gotten head faked by trying to profile a drafter based on what they do in the first couple rounds?
We've usually gotten head faked by worrying that they're going to draft a lot of wide receivers, though. Generally, I feel like, occasionally you will get head faked by someone who does an anchor running back start, but I'm excited. I'm excited based on the board so far.
Doom wants to know, Shawn, are you Adams over Diggs?
I am. He has been there in the rankings that I have up. I think that Diggs is getting pulled up a little bit because of the connection to Josh Allen. Now, obviously, that's a valid part of it to an extent, but he's also pulled up with people wanting to play both of those guys together. And so that element of it, I think you have to watch out for. In part, I also think that there are some other fun ways to potentially play Buffalo. Now, with the Raiders, you have Darren Waller, which especially in tight end premium. And if he's healthy, he needs to get back out there and be part of what they're developing. But, yeah, Diggs has a few red flags that I am concerned about, but only in that I would put him in that 201, 202 range, which is hard for me to say. I mean, we've been comparing Diggs to Antonio Brown for a long time when he wasn't doing it. For him now to be a first-round pick and saying, be careful, it doesn't feel right. But
who are you taking in the first round? Because he told me earlier today that Kelsey should be a 1-2 round pick too. So is it just Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook and
how many first-round values are there?
Board? Who's your personal board from 7 to 10? It has to be running backs.
Well, I do think that Barkley and Swift need to be up there. Adams and Lamb probably are up there. These teams that are getting the Barkley-Swift start at the turn, I mean, there's a lot of risk there, and they could be out with 0 running backs very quickly. But the upside is pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, definitely some very interesting starts here. The Barkley Swift is super fun. Diggs Lamb, a very nice 0 RB start. Debo going here early. This was a start. Well, I guess we were going to go Eckler, and we were debating Debo versus Najee. Ben and I were on the Debo side last night, and now we have who just came off the board here.
And Pat had
Mixon.
The saddest tie-breaking vote ever. I meant to go back and watch it, but he was like, Najee.
And then I found out that if our 2 co-managers agreed on something, they overruled 3 ship chasing. So I didn't even have to make that vote. I could have saved face and voted for wide receiver. So I'm actually pretty mortified that I voted with my head there and not my heart.
Yeah. Let's see here what the Eckler team does. Lots of running back options. I guess the next best wide receiver would probably be Tyreek Hill. They go that direction.
A snap pick.
Pat, I will just say, lots of noise coming from your neck of the woods tonight. Typing, dishes, dogs, air conditioners.
The air conditioner's off. I can't. The dog is on.
Yes.
Who'd he take? Oh, let's go.
Alvin Kamara here. Shawn, what are you seeing?
It's got to be a Kyle Pitts, right? I can't rank him at 6th overall and not be on him in the middle of the 2nd round.
This is 6th overall in non-tight end premium, right? These rankings are for just regular PPR.
Yeah, tight end premium, he's the 101.
No, it will. Well, it's going to be some tight end premium, but Kyle Pitts.
This is the exact start we had in our first main event draft that we did, kicked off back in July 4th start. We started Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts. Ended up in a true 0 RB build in that one. We'll see if we have a different path tonight.
I mean, I'm loving the Chase Pitt start. It's about as fun as it gets.
I mean, it's so fun. They were the 2 generational prospects last year, top 5 picks, great rookie years. We get the year 2 profiles. It's so fun. There's nothing more fun than starting Chase Pitt.
Gretch said the word you have to drink. I was going to try to bait Shawn into saying it was a generational start, but you did it. You did it for us. Shawn, what do you say to people, because you hear the typical concerns about Pitts, right? The offense might be incredibly low volume from a pass attempt standpoint. You could have, just pass efficiency concerns with the quarterback play. Drake London looks legit. I mean, what makes you so bullish on Kyle Pitts?
The fact that they just have those 2 guys, and those 2 guys will make it hard to key on either one of them, but the passes they do have will be concentrated on them, and both of them look like they'll be absolutely fantastic. When you look at Pitts and any sort of step forward, he just gives you such a big positional advantage. I mean, and there's a possibility that he goes off like a wide receiver, at which point, I mean, he would be the number 1 guy in all of fantasy. I'm not saying that that's the most likely thing. It obviously isn't, but I mean, there's the potential for him to not just be good, but be the overall league winner in 2022.
So we're back up, guys.
The AJ Brown dream died. I think we would have been into that.
Yeah.
We previously have taken in our last draft, we took T. Higgins in this spot. He's gone. I mean,
the wide receiver tier's wiped out for me. You're looking at Mike Williams, Jalen Waddle, Sutton at this point.
Well, Evans is still kicking around too.
Evans, we could do ETN.
Where are you at, Shawn?
ETN is my lean here. I think that he also has a chance to really jump out. It also gives you a little bit of flexibility. I was going to pitch you guys on a potential like borderline robust RB start with ETN as part of it. If things had fallen very poorly, I do think he's a pretty fun pick at this spot.
Let's do ETN. This is a classic. I vote ETN as well.
Classic
Shawn move to run the clock down.
I don't think we have an ETN share yet.
We don't.
Classic Shawn move to run the clock down to 5 seconds, though, and make sure that our guy, the guy he's talking about, is the guy we have to take. What he didn't mention is, I know that Shawn, you were not in on Evans there, and I think we're in agreement on that, but he's like a 3-4 turn guy in our view. It's something we've talked about a little bit on Stealing Bananas. I don't know that there was really another pick there. If you're not in on Evans, if you're not in on Keenan, you have to reach for Mike Williams.
Yeah, I think Williams there. I mean, Mike Williams would be the next guy, I think.
Yeah, we got him at 3.8 last night as our first wide receiver. I know my reasons on it, but talk about the Mike Evans thing, because a lot of people go like, hey, he goes in the second round of drafts. Why wouldn't you smash that, at 3.5 there?
The reports on Gage and Julio Jones have been very encouraging. You look up the Stealing Signals tool and you see that Julio's peripherals are actually not that different than Mike Evans. And obviously you're looking at an age difference, but you're also looking at Evans sliding and having some red flags with Tom Brady. Once you start to split it with 4 guys, I mean, if Chris Godwin comes back, and when we're talking about how we win tournaments, I think that we want the options and the guys who are going to not only be good now, but improve throughout the course of the season. Evans is not a guy you're targeting on a lot of teams if you're pointing your team at weeks 15, 16, 17. Now, I mean, with what he's done and in a high volume offense and a elite touchdown scorer. I mean, could he go off and score a couple touchdowns in week 17 and be a part of it that way? I mean, he obviously could, but the target competition for him is actually at this point a little more concerning than even for some of these hybrid QBs when you add in what they do in terms of damage to the overall passing pie. And so just the prices that you're getting on him are really ceiling prices as opposed to prices where he can dramatically outperform. We've got a shot at a lot of receivers in the next 4 or 5 rounds who could easily score the same number, are probably better players at this point, especially if we're looking at mid-season, late season. I prefer to have them on the team.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I've felt Mike Evans in a lot of places going in the second round. I mean, that felt massively rich. And that was even before the Julio signing, the bullishness on Godwin's return. Right. So I can see how he might feel like a fake value here sliding. But I do agree with you. And he just, yeah.
The way that,
go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were finishing up. The way that I keep putting it is if Godwin was fully healthy, he, from a profile perspective, would go 2 rounds ahead of Evans. And he's looking pretty close to fully healthy to the extent that, like, I think when Evans was going second round, people thought they'd get half a year of this elite target profile, and there was no Julio. And, okay, that maybe makes sense in a second. I still didn't love it. Now you have Julio, and you might only get like 3 or 4 weeks until Godwin's up to speed. You know, like maybe he's not there week 1, but
he's going 3 rounds ahead of Godwin.
Yeah. Godwin's going to be good to go by week 4, week 5, right? Like, hopefully. Yeah. I want Godwin from week 5 on, easily. So
I do too.
Evans wasn't even getting massive volume last year, even after some of those injuries. It was just they were kind of manufacturing touches for him in the red zone, like they were drying up.
No, he did in the playoffs.
In the playoffs,
they were using him like Devontae Adams or something, or even Deontay Johnson stuff, where he'd just like turn and catch the ball, like because they had nobody, but they were throwing out Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller and stuff. They literally, because Antonio Brown was gone, Chris Godwin got hurt, they didn't have anybody left. So, yeah, I think that Gage, Julio, frankly, even one of those guys being okay, kind of like hurts that some of that early season upside to an extent, to the extent of like that playoff target hog type of role. And then, yeah, I mean, Godwin's the number 1 there, right? Like, I don't think Godwin, unless maybe the only argument I've heard is like, oh no, Godwin's going to get brought along slowly all season. And I guess that's possible, but if that doesn't happen, I really think the Evans second round shares are looking pretty bad.
Yeah. And people also mentioning the Brady stuff. You know, we had a little bit of an update today. Todd Bowles giving some quotes. It does feel bizarre. I don't know if it's an actual, serious concern, but it certainly adds to the pile of concerns if you're taking a guy like Mike Evans.
He is a 45-year-old who recently retired.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Wait, did we just draft a guy who hasn't played before?
Ooh.
I tend to like to see it before I draft these guys. I need about a 4-year track record of performance.
We've never drafted a guy who hasn't.
Imagine paying for future production. Yeah. Couldn't be me.
Now I know why you guys all wanted to
just
take
scratch
Mike
all
Evans.
the rookies off my board personally.
Yeah. Let's see here. Any other interesting starts? So the Barkley Swift team could not resist Chubb falling to 311. That's definitely past his ADP there, as we had a wide receiver run. And the Diggs Lamb team, of course, grabs Waller. Definitely fits the profile.
I'm really enjoying the wide receivers we're seeing go off. Two targeted our type of receivers with Higgins and Brown.
Mm-hmm.
For Jefferson and DJ Moore maybe, but Keenan Allen over Mike Williams. We get A-Rob here at 401. Again, Mike Evans in the mid-third. Maybe that's fine, but not one that I think is a great pick.
Team 2, Team 4, and Team 10 look a little scary right now.
Yeah. But in terms of us being able to get some of the guys that we would be targeting, I'm liking the room so far.
Yeah.
Last night there was Mr. Pete Pete Tato head, and now tonight we have real David Montgomery in the chat firing back at my 0% David Montgomery with I have 0% Peter Overzet exposure, which is very fair, Dave. That'd be weird if you had any exposure.
Yeah. How does one even get exposure?
Well, ask my wife, Pat.
Okay. Yeah, I guess she has 100% exposure.
100% exposure. Oh man. Shawn, any other starts or player slides jumping out to you here?
Well, Cortland Sutton goes a little bit early, and if you're a Joe Mixon believer, then that Kelsey Mixon Sutton start is at least intriguing. Disappointing to see Jalen Waddle go where he is. He's somebody who can fall and would be a fun pick for us in the fourth.
Someone in the chat just asked, said that you have Waddle ranked ahead of AJ Brown and DJ Moore, and wanted to hear you discuss that. Personally, our friendship being on the line here, I want to know what is going on with Shawn Siegele's rankings.
Yeah, those are Ben Gretsch specials. You gotta move Ben's guys down so he feels the need to mention them.
Is this a content thing? You got to rile them up.
Mm-hmm. You got to get those guys in the right spot. Deontay Johnson also going at a spot where we will now not get him. McLaurin pushing people down. Pat, is it correct that Jahan Dotson is still the wide receiver dominating Commanders camp?
Shawn, I'm going to have to pull you back there and get you to explain why you have Waddle over A.J. Brown.
Well, I mean, you've got Devontae Smith there in whatever round it is. You've got to get the exposure to the second-year rising superstar. We joke about these players who are dealing with the hybrid QBs.
Gabe Davis.
That's an unfortunate pick there. And one of the ways that you can get exposure to the elite guys without having to worry as much that the run-first QBs are going to completely destroy him is to get some exposure to guys like Ayuk and Smith. You don't have to have – I mean, you're certainly not fully fading Debo and A.J. Brown. I probably haven't moved Brown back up enough considering Smith's time missed in camp and the fact that Brown is absolutely dominating. I do think that with DJ Moore, you still have to be at least a little bit concerned with Baker Mayfield. He didn't come through in week 17 last year, but hopefully a healthy version of him. Obviously, we do like DJ Moore.
Guys, we got another player who hasn't played
Judy
NFL
went.
snaps that we
damn it.
could consider taking.
Yeah, so we got George Kittle still on the board. Couple running backs. I mean, are there any wide receivers here that are interesting in this range? I mean, the wide receivers just got wiped out. Marquise Brown, maybe?
Brown, maybe.
Brown's the top one on my board, but I think Breece Hall would be my.
This was part of Shawn's gross triple dead zone play, was Breece at the secondary spot.
Yeah.
Breece
Don,
Hall.
where are you at?
Well, last week, Pete said that J.K. Dobbins should also have an ADP up in this range, which he does over the last couple of days. He might have more upside than Hall. Those would be one. I would go with one of those two guys, Hall or Dobbins.
I like Hall.
I think I like Hall more than Dobbins. Also, with already having another running back on the board. Let's do it. Oh, shit.
Wow, Amon-Ra.
Wow, snap pick Amon-Ra.
I mean, I had to go and open my big fucking mouth about the room being favorable to the types of players we like. We just got a run of guys.
Yeah, it's this part of the board. It's like some pockets are great and some pockets are really, really tough. So,
yeah, was there an episode of Hard Knocks tonight? Did Amon-Ra just catch a few more balls on the jug machine or something? Okay.
Or no, 2 nights ago, I guess.
Yeah. Goodness.
I watched it tonight, so maybe everyone caught up with me. That's pretty brutal.
Shawn, would you have gone Dobbins there over Hall?
Given the increased sort of turmoil with the Jets offense, I think I would start to lean a little bit that direction. But, I mean, you're only going to get so many of these main event drafts. And I think that, I mean, that's a good value for Hall compared to Dobbins, and perhaps we'll be able to get Dobbins a little bit later. One of the things that we were talking about earlier today was that the late fourth was a spot where you could reach for a round 5 wide receiver because round 5 is so loaded. This draft has been essentially the entire round 5 of wide receiver ADPs in round 4. So that obviously not ideal.
Sucks.
Yeah, I think we misread the room. I think we should have taken Amon-Ra or Bateman or maybe Marquise. I think we totally misread the room.
I don't know,
guys. This is the same story every single draft. It's like, are the boomers going to do what they always do? And we're in a new meta now. People draft wide receivers. They caught up to wide receivers being good picks, and now
and I mean, we got a good price on Hall there, but we already knew. I mean, Zeke had already gone off. We already knew we were in this range where people do shy away from the running backs. I mean, Dobbins is going to go off eventually, but Akers probably, but you're getting into, David Montgomery, and these guys can fall.
We missed
Elijah
the whole
Mitchell.
next tier, basically, though, of wide receiver. That's why it's so tough.
We still have, I still have 5 guys in the tier with Marquise Brown and Gabe Davis and Jerry Jeudy and Amon-Ra and Bateman and Juju. So I don't know.
I have 1.
I have Deontay in a tier above, but once Deontay was off, this tier to me was deeper than. I mean, these are good names, but I have some names that I think are pretty interesting here. That was one of them.
DK was the last guy for me. And I guess I have 1 in kind of a sort of mini tier of his own.
I have a guy that I put at the top of the queue.
Yeah, that's the other one that I would.
So to me, like, Godwin is the pick we need here. Sean, I know you didn't have him on our short list initially, but what do you think about Godwin at this spot?
Well, I was going to make a pitch for us to go 3 running backs here and take Dobbins. Obviously, he does go. Yeah, I mean, he has to be the next guy, even though this isn't a great value on it. I don't think there's any way that Elijah Moore could get back around. He would be the other person to consider.
That's the guy right after Godwin for me in this tier.
I like Godwin here.
I like Godwin too.
I think Godwin. I like Godwin, I think.
Let's do it.
We went 2 RBs. I mean, they're not exactly our, Hall might not be a huge round or week 1 hit, but the idea of being able to float Godwin a little bit with some actual startable running backs in the first couple of weeks, I mean, it might make it a little easier. Obviously, we don't have a lot of receiver depth, and having him as our wide receiver 2, if he's not playing in the first few weeks, it's not great, but at least we have some.
We will have depth, though.
We will, and we'll have strength at other starting positions at tight end at both running back spots.
Well, the build's probably going to end up looking more fairly similar to what we did last night. It's just we're stronger at wide receiver 1. Jamar Chase versus Mike Williams. Not quite as strong at running back. Harrison, Eckler versus Etienne and Hall, but very similar build.
Better at tight end. I mean,
Pitts versus Kittle. Yeah.
Pat, were you saying we should have went, when you were saying we misread the room, we should have went receiver? I mean, was that sort of your point? Like,
I think we probably should have gone like Marquise. We were, pretty interested in. I don't really care I think anyone from the guys who went ahead of us at 505 would have been good. And then just gone anchor with ETN.
Where are you at on Marquise, Sean? He's been a guy that's just in kind of a weird floating ADP range. I mean, was he in the conversation at all for you there, or just tough to take over Hall?
I think tough to take. He is in the conversation. It is also something where there are a number of fun ways to play the Cardinals, so I don't feel that pressure to grab him. There's also the deal where it probably isn't going to have direct ramifications, but I think that you do have to be, and we saw his ADP change when he gets arrested for driving 127. So, I mean, there are some overall decision-making things about that are fairly concerning. And so I haven't been taking him because I think there are other ways to, get some exposure to not just that offense, but a lot of upside in that offense. But that's not to say that I don't have him in that range, and that if it fell properly that I wouldn't take him. It's disappointing to see all those receivers get wiped out. in the interim there. But I guess I'm not concerned yet, at least. I mean, if we see it go pure yellow for the next 3.5 rounds, that's a little bit different. I'm excited now about the types of receivers we can still draft, since we are going to need receivers, and it does take us out of feeling the pressure to take some of these running backs who frankly do have elevated ADPs over the last week.
It'll be interesting to see how the QBs go in this one. Last night we took Herbert in the early 6th to kind of complete our stack, and then a lot of quarterbacks came off the board right after that in the 6th. You know, we were debating. Yeah,
some fell quite a ways, right? Dak went in, was it the 14th or the 12th?
Yeah.
Dak and Brady were way back there in the double-digit round.
Yeah, it is interesting you mentioned about the running back values and where those are going to be here, because it does seem like, as we talk about every year, this phenomenon where the running backs get pushed up, but not just like any old running backs. It's like all the running backs that we would actually want to target get pushed up, like probably sometimes 2 rounds ahead of where I would actually want to take them. And that's already started. I think some of the guys that we would like to take are probably going to be like reach candidates if we take them, and maybe we skip them this draft because we have Etienne and Hall already.
Yeah, it's hard. Although this doesn't feel like a room where Isaiah Pacheco goes in the 6th round.
Be nice if he did. We need him. Come on, Pacheco.
Yeah. Let's see.
I feel like we've been like one spot away on a number of these. Like if DJ Moore was there, Jerry Jeudy was there.
Although, where would you guys have been at on Etienne versus DJ Moore?
I would have been campaigning hard for Moore.
Sean apparently thinks DJ Moore sucks, so he would have been on Etienne.
I'm pretty sure Sean's Etienne over DJ Moore.
I do think Etienne is a fun pick right there. Yeah, one of these years. I mean, DJ Moore's going to come through with that Stephon Diggs season, and if you're Ben Gretch or Ben Gretch adjacent and you don't have him that season, you don't win the $1 million. You're going to feel like you did it wrong. So I can certainly understand the DJ Moore.
That's not why I'm on DJ Moore. I made an impassioned case for him on our recording on Stealing Bananas today. That will come out. It is very analytically based. It's not just that I need to be on him when he does finally hit. It's going to be this year, though.
And I'm going to be on him.
It's incredible that you guys podcast together multiple times a week with Sean just taking digs at AJ Brown and DJ Moore left and right.
Man. I mean, this is like, it's just rude.
The
Ben Gretch adjacent line.
Ben Gretch adjacent. Is that how you? I think that's how you would describe yourself.
How would you describe your drafting style? I don't know. Maybe Ben Gretch adjacent.
I do like to see this purple. That's made like
this
a little
is
bit
true,
easier.
Nate. I am now Evan Silva adjacent. Now that Evan is doing 0 RB builds.
Yeah, I think
It is hilarious to know that Evan Silva did a main event draft and he would snap trade his roster with either of the 2 that we have drafted the past 2 nights.
Although he wouldn't accept a buyout. I did enjoy that part of it. They were trying
because he knows that him getting bought out and then the team actually being good would be far, far worse than the team not being good.
Yeah, right now it's on Leone. The team needs to be good. Otherwise, Leone's the one getting
Sean, what are you...
shit.
I'm not thrilled about these first 5 rounds. I mean, I'm thrilled about the first 2. I need your trademark optimism right now. How are you feeling about the squad so far?
Well, perfect. I mean, now we add DeAndre Hopkins, and our Week 17 wide receiver upside is unparalleled. No, I mean, this is going to fall very, very nicely. I mean, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, to give a little bit in the way of spoilers, we had Hall very clearly in the first round of our 2023 projected ADP. We did differ a little bit on Etienne, but have him either in the first or early in the second. these guys are going to show that off by the end of the season. I love being able to get them in there. Yeah, I mean, it stinks to have some of our favorite wide receivers also go off in that range. But I'm looking forward to these next picks. I think that picks I thought were maybe going to be a little bit difficult to justify as reaches are actually going to be fantastic now here in round 6 and 7.
Yeah, it does seem like things have, knock on wood, settled down a little bit. We have a couple more quarterbacks go off the board. Herbert to the 12 hole, Patrick Mahomes, both unstacked, but these guys enjoying the kind of elite quarterback value here in the 6th.
Where are we at on quarterback? We're probably too far off course to consider. I mean, we could be looking at a value here.
Well,
maybe in the
last night I didn't even want to do quarterback because I felt like we were so far behind, and then the value slip on Herbert with the stack, I definitely came around on that. Tonight, without an obvious elite quarterback stack, I kind of feel like we need to prioritize wide receiver here.
I'm with you. I guess if something came into the 7th that was like a real value, that might sway me.
So Murray goes there, and he's the player who I think gives you the most upside and the most options. To have him there probably pushes us to a different position.
Yeah,
you like Murray over Lamar?
7. I have him in a pretty similar range, but I think if we are looking to do some fun things with week 17 in mind, then Murray is the guy with the flexibility.
Yeah, and we have loads of Murray. Do we have Murray on 3 different main event teams?
Sean, will you check the private chat? I'm curious your Oh, we're on.
We're on the clock.
So
yeah.
Zach Ertz goes at 6:07. Wow. Yeah, like looking at, let's see here from an ADP standpoint.
What are you thinking, Sean? Ayuk?
Yeah, that's the direction I would go with it.
If
we miss on Devo, then he's the guy. And he's of the players I think we're considering, he is the person who's been the most expensive in the last 3 or 4 days. This is still above where he goes, but he fits perfectly with what we want to do.
Let's do Ayuk.
I like Ayuk.
I like that. Especially, too, we have a lot of Kittle. Is this our first? Do we have another Ayuk share yet or no?
I don't think so.
I don't think we do in a main.
Yeah, we considered taking him once, but we didn't, I think.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson goes right there to the Dobbins owner. Yeah, I will say that that 4-5 wrap was brutal, but it does seem like things leveled out a bit here.
Yeah, for sure, a little bit. David Montgomery going is nice. You always love to see that.
Yeah, that stretch in the 4th, and then even the 4-5 turn.
And the fact that 1 and 2 are both, I mean, right now, 1 has got a hero running back build, well built. 2 has got a superhero build, well built. You know, we'd love to see some green here.
I'm curious what 2 does here. Does 2 maybe take the plunge on Hurts with that A.J. Brown stack?
That would be a good pick.
Yeah, that feels right.
I think Ayuk, I feel pretty good about Ayuk. It's definitely a reach, but the 6th round.
In this room, it's not a reach, I don't think.
It's not a reach at all, yeah.
So he goes Pollard there.
We'll take that. We'll take that.
In 1, Pat, this was we started a main event, Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, a couple years ago.
A couple years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
I think with 2020 because McCaffrey got hurt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
then
the
Aaron
one
Jones
we've had in the 3 years.
Yeah, not a lot of 101s. Although we got a couple this year, right?
I think we have some 102s, which it's a great year to have the 102. Not complaining.
Right. Yeah, the 101 isn't even as much of a prize.
Yeah. I think you'd almost rather have the 102 maybe. I don't know. It depends how you feel about McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Having like massively higher upside.
Tony. off the board.
Shawn, where are you at on the McCaffrey versus Taylor question? Because I do feel like, I don't know, if one of these guys has 29 points per game, it has to be McCaffrey, but Taylor's also the best running back in the league, so what are we doing?
He is, and this is the season you would expect the big spike in receiving value for him with a quarterback that's favorable for that. It's his third year. The big elite backs, that tends to be the area where they make that step. I mean, the problem is just that they've really been talking up Hines, and Hines is sort of an underrated talent. So if they do get him involved, it does cap the ceiling more in that 23 point per game range. Whereas I still think with Matt Ryan, this offense could struggle. Now we continue to get just glowing reviews on Michael Pittman, but they have to find stuff beyond him. And Paris Campbell has gotten some pretty good buzz as well. So maybe the offense is very
Pierce
dynamic.
has as well. Pierce, they put him out with the starters since day one, and he's hung with it.
So, I mean, if they really move the ball, if they don't have to rely on him as much as they've had to, you do have that potential for him to like have a 25 touchdown season if the offense is really dynamic, but you would expect his snap share and his routes, his targets to drop if it's just not absolutely imperative for him to be on the field all the time.
Yeah.
My hope is that they're just good enough to be looking at the playoffs, but not good enough to know for sure they're going to get there, and they're basically going to do what they did last year and just turn it over to JT. I watched some of the Hard Knocks in season, and there's coaches meetings where they're like, literally one of the coaches just talking to Chris Ballard, and he's literally just like, he won't shut up about how good JT is. He's just like, he cannot help himself. He just keeps going.
We should have known Team 2 was going to take Drake London there with that start. A very Team 2 pick so far.
Oh,
Jesus.
Oh,
Jesus.
One pick away. We're getting sniped. It's the week of the snipes, boys.
What do we do here, Shawn? Talk it through.
Is it Lance? Is it Stock without you?
I mean, what do you think, Shawn?
Was the pick.
Devonta was the pick. I was fully in on that.
Yeah, we were prepared to take him a full round ahead.
Yeah, I don't even think we need to take quarterback here. That's what
we could take. I mean, one reach I would throw out is Sky Moore. Sky Moore has an 80% chance to come back.
It's just so flat, and Lance is a potential hammer.
I think
we have other options.
What are you gonna say, Shawn?
I was gonna say I think maybe we should take Sky Moore anyway, even with the potential value here at QB.
Yeah,
okay.
I think we should.
Let's do it.
I think we should fucking roll the clip.
Sky Moore, 2 wide.
That's the fucking sickest name I've ever seen for a wide receiver in my goddamn life. Sky's up!
Oh, that's I feel good about that. We've got outs at quarterback. We were running out of them at wide receiver.
The sirens feel like the thunder of this episode.
Look, we pushed Sky Moore's ADP into the 7th all summer, and then funded it back down just so that when main event season came around, we could get him at 705.
Yeah,
we couldn't have it go up into the 6, you know.
We had to put him that high. This is a steal. What you guys don't understand is this is a steal.
Shawn, the main event landscape is very different in 2022. Would you agree than previous years?
I would. I mean, everybody has come around to actually drafting the players that score the most points, which is a way to play it, I think. The Sky Moore pick there is fun. I mean, he wasn't necessarily going to come back to us
Bold strategy.
in round 8, and he's another player who could very easily be drafted in round 2 next year. I've been excited about this entire Chiefs team, probably way too excited about all these additions. And then, if I understand correctly, in the last 48 hours, basically every other impact player on offense decided that they were sore and needed to take like a week off. If that's the case, then Sky Moore jumps to the front of the queue, and we're talking about a 1,400-yard season.
Yeah, Juju's nursing a sore knee right now. He's not practicing.
Pete, I'm afraid you played the wrong clip.
Yeah? What clip did you want me to play? The David Bell clip?
The Avalanche clip.
Oh, the Avalanche clip. Yeah, we can play that one too.
That's as Shawn said. The players that score points have been going, and it's
you know what?
A little avalanche-y.
It took the FFPC grinders a while to figure it out, but boy, did they figure it out tonight.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, dear God.
I love that he just never moves. Oh, dear God.
Oh, my God. I really want, someone asked, I played that on another stream and someone was like, what happened to that guy? And I generally, like, that did not seem good.
The first time I saw that on Twitter, it was with a comment that he survived. So
okay,
I choose to believe that.
I imagine he did.
Yeah.
I like to think he's the one that uploaded that footage.
Right. that's the mindset.
oh man,
Robert Woods at 7'10"? That's an Avalanche draft. What's happening?
it's an Avalanche draft. Can we go back and not make fun of everyone for not drafting wide receivers so that they don't start drafting wide receivers?
Leone's watching this and he messages, I hope you're happy now. Look at the mess you guys have created with wide receivers.
We're all trying to find out who did this.
Whose fault is this?
Oh, man. Yeah, this is maybe a mistake. This whole
just
thing.
the entire concept of
the whole enterprise of ship chasing.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out, guys. It's been real. I really wanted to. I just feel like that's what
you just want to end
when
it?
Snipe us on Devonta Smith.
Just finish this draft without recording it.
I did leave it for a half second longer just so some people thought we were legit rugging the stream.
I'm maddest at myself for being excited through 3 rounds that like all of our guys were going to come to us in this draft. Look at what's happening. And literally since the point I said that, everything has been shit.
It certainly is.
I will say, our theory of like Ramondre Stevenson going in the 7th, there he went. So like some of the stuff we were talking about before of like, okay, we want some of these exciting zero running back type of guys, we might not have gotten them. So it is possible that we get through this super reach period here and come out the other side.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts finally goes off the board there to Nickelback. Holy cow, Brandon is right. Look at this Raiders onslaught from Team 12. Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and Josh Jacobs. Shawn, I know you're a closet Raiders super fan, right?
Definitely.
You love Carr. You love Derek Carr.
The AFC West is going to be one of the greatest divisions of all time, and that's gonna fuel all these teams. We're gonna see some scores.
Classic dodgeball from Shawn. Just dip,
know.
dive, dodge, and dodge.
Let me ask,
the AFC West as a conference.
Shawn, what running back cost doesn't matter, just completely in a vacuum? Who do you take, Josh Jacobs or Amir Abdullah?
Amir Abdullah, right?
I love it.
I mean, he's the player on this team that has a role.
Yeah.
Shawn, what round value would you say Josh Jacobs is?
I mean, he and Antonio Gibson are like sitting on the park bench trying to figure out in round 14 if their value's at that point, right? I mean,
Rojo, Josh Jacobs, and Antonio Gibson walk into a room. Who are you adding to your fantasy football team?
Well, I passed on Ronald Jones in the 18th round the other day, so this obviously isn't serious. But I mean, he could actually get cut and land on a team that would have a role for him, whereas Gibson and Josh Jacobs seem like they're stuck.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not pretty.
That's like Moore going at 804. That's also not pretty.
You know what is funny? The story, you know, we have the training camp and preseason cliches. You got the best shape of your life. You have X players lining up in the slot. The new one this year that I'm super excited to get added is this star player we thought was a starter is actually playing on special teams now. The David Montgomery, Antonio Gibson on special teams. That's the new meta.
It is funny. I think the Gibson stuff just has to be a punishment, right, for the fumble. Wasn't he back with the...
If anyone here has read 19 articles about the Antonio Gibson situation in very obscure journals, probably one of them from like a Washington, D.C. college student, it is Shawn.
The college students have the best info, so...
Shawn, talk me through. Do you have bookmarks? Are you an RSS guy? Like, I want to know your process. Do you have Google alerts on every single player in the league?
I don't even know what any of that means. So.
Wow.
He claims he just Googles their name like 5 times a day, which I don't believe because I try to do that and I can't find these articles that you're reading.
Oh.
Okay, we're back up.
All right. Trey Lance, we thought about him there. I think we made the right pick. Ben, do you say we stack this bitch up?
I would like to stack this bitch up.
Shawn, any other stuff we're missing other than Lance here?
There's a wide receiver that I don't know if will come back. I'm gonna put it in the private chat.
He's the.
You guys probably know who I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's who I'm
That would be my only other concern, and we do have a Burrow out with the quarterback, but I'm fine going Lance, and I think there's a very good chance neither gets back to us based on the way these teams are building.
1-2 definitely look prime for a quarterback.
2 could easily grab Burrow.
Yeah. What do you think, Shawn?
Yeah, I mean, Burrow's not going to get through the Higgins drafter, and so I think either way. I mean, you look at how Week 17 will play out. I mean, Jamar Chase going for another 300 yards and 5 touchdowns with Burrow is the one that probably gives you even more upside for the full season. I mean, Trey Lance is going to finish as the QB1. So
yeah, Trey Lance.
Holy cow, Pickens in the 8. What is going on?
Pete, you clicked as Shawn was talking about Burrow, and I started to get nervous you were picking Burrow. I really wanted Lance there, so.
Yeah. I think it. So you think, Shawn, flesh that out again about you think Burrow has more like playoff upside down the stretch, and you like more of Lance's regular season upside, or am I kind of misunderstanding that?
Yeah, no, I mean, you look at Week 17, and it's much easier to see how Chase and Burrow together is going to be more dynamic than Ayuk and Lance together. I don't know that Ayuk and Lance need to even be together, although I'm certainly not against it. I have a lot of teams like that.
I mean, you're talking to a big Week 17 stand, but why aren't we talking Week 15 through 17? Is that what you mean for these teams?
Yeah, when we're looking at winning the $1 million here, obviously we got to make the full stretch. I think that
Shawn filibustering is my favorite comment. Oh my god, he's filibustering. That's what it is. I do this every time we do a draft on Stealing Bananas. He filibusters until there's 2 seconds on the clock. So is that the direction we're going, Ben? And I'm like, no, yeah.
Well, Ben doesn't have control of those drafts, so he's double hit on all of those.
Hey, I gotta check Murphy's. I think
it's a RotoViz thing because when I did the stream with Colum and Zachary Kruger, they were talking about lots of issues with them talking too much before the picks. It is a streamer skill that you build up of, being able to push it until the last possible second when you make the selection. Wow. All of our ambient noise is gone once Pat mutes himself. Man, Cordero Patterson, CEH, George Pickens.
Oh my god.
Miles Sanders goes.
Murphy has this game where if we let him keep the ball that we play fetch with him at the park, he comes in and then he drops it under stuff. Like he'll roll it under the couch, and then he'll desperately try to get it back from under the couch, which he never succeeds in doing, and then he freaks out. So that was some of the ambient noise.
I'm really surprised Team 2 risked Burrow going to Team 1 there. I'll be really curious if they take Burrow here. Seems like a really nice pick with this build.
Agreed. I'd be kind of shocked if they didn't.
Where are you, Shawn, on the Chiefs backfield? Feel free to not talk about Ronald Jones, but like, do you think does all this shuffling make CH stand out to you more? Or are you still wanting to play it as cheaply as possible?
Still as cheaply as possible. I think that, I have a lot of concerns about if the Pacheco buzz can really hold or can be something that turns into fantasy points in the context of this committee. And yet, I think you have to consider him there. I also think it's been great for McKinnon, actually, until, Pat was mentioning Juju with the sore knee. I think that
nicely.
McKinnon is also now missing practice. And there was a reason they only deployed him in the reality playoffs last year. So,
yeah. Shawn, can anyone make a case for anything other than Garrett Wilson here? Because we were kind of sweating that last time around when we passed on him for Lance.
Well, I was going to say that Penny would be the other guy, but he does go 2 picks ahead of that. So Wilson is my highest rostered player, and because he's the guy who will come back to you just every draft. So.
I know, yeah. Yeah,
I had mentioned that there was a guy that maybe we should take over Lance. It was Wilson, because I just was worried about not having a wide receiver we liked in 9. We got Garrett Wilson in 9.
It has worked out too, because we have a decent amount of Elijah Moore, decent amount of Kittle, getting the other options in the passing game is nice here. You're right. Shit. Garrett Wilson never played.
Ooh. God damn it. We keep doing this, guys. We need
Trey
to
Lance
think about
has only played like 2 games. Too.
Yeah, barely any.
Yeah.
Guy Moore hasn't played. Breece Hall hasn't played. We are.
Chris Godwin's injured every other game, so he's only played like probably 6 games in his career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would venture a guess that we have the fewest amount of games played on a roster in this draft so far.
We really honestly might, because even our second-year guys haven't played for the most part.
All right. I feel like it was rocky there. I wanted to shut down the stream. I wanted to go back and not say all the things about how people should take wide receivers, but I feel
for the last 5 years.
Garrett Wilson coming back around from that turn being, really pretty sharp with receiver throughout. The 1 and 2 draft decided to go away from receiver. Obviously at some point they're going to, and also the 3 draft are going running back. The 4 guy goes Pickens, Olave. Pickens is, fun pick at this point, but ahead of Wilson also. Pickens and Olave I don't think belong ahead of Wilson. So just that was a pick me up we needed right there. Wilson
it really was
of a tier.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Josh. Thank you for sticking with us. The best draft Josh has ever witnessed. I'd say probably watch more drafts, but I
yeah, I watched some of our other drafts of it.
They probably watch more drafts.
Yeah.
What's the shower narrative? Literally Brittany is in the shower, so sorry, Chris Diaz says, guess what? Guys, what is Pat hiding with that green screen? I think the shower narrative has some validity.
Don't tell a bunch of men in their mom's basement that your girlfriend is in the shower, Pat. That's an internet.
Well, I wondered if they heard the shower running right now as part of the ambient noise. That's what we call a no-no.
Srikanth asking about Chris Olave. I mean, I think we definitely would have been interested in him if Garrett Wilson went instead. But yeah, Chris Olave went off the board there.
Yeah, we
Team
talked
4
about him quite a bit last night, but
Yeah, but we all think Wilson's a better prospect, especially.
Lost some targets to Wilson and JSN at Ohio State last year. Kind of looks like a secondary receiver, and he's in an offense with 3 really good target earners: Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry.
What do we think about Team 4? They have a lot of players we like. I mean, the Pickens that early. I mean, Shawn, do we think that's justified there, or do we think that's still rich, him going ahead of Olave and Wilson specifically as other rookies with better draft capital? Where are you at on that?
I think that's fine because at this point, he looks like the player who should have actually been like the 103 in rookie drafts. And, his trajectory before he gets hurt, what he's done early on. The quarterback situation there is a concern, but it's a concern for Garrett Wilson. I mean, it's a concern for Chris Olave. I mean, he definitely should go ahead of Chase Claypool, who went a few spots ahead of him. He should probably go ahead of Christian Kirk. I mean, I think you can make an argument for him going ahead of Allen Lazard, Robert Woods, and Hunter Renfrow. So from that perspective, I almost think that, Ricky Bobby there has gotten a pretty good price. He's somebody that if he had been there instead of Wilson for us, I would be just fine with that.
I mean, we took Sky Moore, but how much of that is because he is on the Chiefs compared to what Pickens has shown?
If you put George Pickens on the Kansas City Chiefs, he'd be a 4th-round pick. I mean, he's that good.
Yeah.
The situation is that good. You'd like to hear what was going on with the Steelers, with the Chiefs, with the Patriots, all those picks in that tight cluster. If some of the teams that made moves there, if the Chiefs thought that they were going to still get Pickens, if they were still, obviously I think the Chiefs have to be very happy with Sky Moore. Is that information?
There was a report on that. Yeah, that the Chiefs wanted, I forget the name of the defender, but they wanted Sky Moore and a defender, and they were going to take the defender first, and they kind of so it goes through, and then Pickens and Pierce, I guess, went off the board, and then they flipped it. So they were like, no, we're taking Sky now because they lost their cover at wide receiver. But Sky was the target over Pierce and Pickens all along, according to that.
Shawn, I'm pretty sure from what I've seen from your stuff that you're even slightly above market on Deontay Johnson. How are you thinking about the quarterback play for the Steelers? Is your take just it can't be any worse than last year? It doesn't matter if it's Trubisky or Pickett. How does Claypool fit into all of this? I know we don't want to fall into the trap of too many mouths to feed. I know you like Freiermuth too, but if all of these guys, or is it you just think these profiles are so nice that you can bank a huge outcome, or do you really think that the Steelers offense could be, sneaky really good?
Yeah, there are a number of little things to unpack there. I think that it could sneaky be good. I think that the quarterback play actually is going to be better than it was with Ben Roethlisberger. The concern I would have is that they could actually still just become much more conservative, even if the quarterback play is as good or better, just because there's such a big difference between what Roethlisberger kind of brings in terms of, what he's done for the franchise and their comfort level with him. Maybe he can't, he can barely throw the ball across the line of scrimmage, but they don't think he's going to lose the game for him necessarily, where, their current quarterbacks, they do. The flip side of that, though, would be that I don't think that they really have the running back depth to go, much more running back heavy than they already are. Najee Harris is maxed out. They don't have a backup. Teams can find other guys to touch the ball, so that's not any guarantee, but I think that when you have Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, both of those guys, if we end up being wrong about this offense, and I think you want to, number one, you want to target the elite passers. We've seen how they take these guys and make them the stars. But if you don't get receivers connected with good passers at a price that works, the next thing you want to look for is where could we be wrong about an offense? Because if we are wrong about an offense and you have an elite talent, a wide receiver, then suddenly that guy can smash ADP. So those would be kind of the ways that I would go through that when we're looking at players at different price levels.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Ricky points out the character stuff was a concern for Pickens, and I think, but to me it's it seems like they love him in Pittsburgh. So maybe he's not everybody's guy, but he's a Steelers guy, and with that type of stuff, like if it's not the talent that had him dropping in drafts, and it wasn't the injury concern, which was a major injury concern. He barely played after tearing his ACL the previous year in the spring. In some ways that's good if the character stuff ends up being kind of like a red herring.
Is what you're saying, Pat, that George Pickens has that dog in him?
I think that is what I'm saying.
All right, this is going to be an interesting pick. Just looking at like best available ADP, generally guys we like, this feels like a running back pick to me.
Yeah, I'm ready to pound the table if we get the guy I want following one more pick.
Shawn, any other thoughts about this pocket of the draft we're in?
Yeah, I was looking here and thinking that it is a spot to pivot back. I mean, there are still some fringe wide receivers, but I know that Ben is crushed that our guy Romeo Doubs goes, which I made the bold prediction this week that he was going to lead the Packers in receiving, maybe by a wide margin, and then like the very next day, Aaron Rodgers came out and said he's doing everything wrong. So that one didn't last very long.
What are you gonna do? Like, he's a rookie. Oh man, we got a big follower. Is that who you're gonna pound the table for?
I'd love to take Rachaad White here. I think he's a perfect fit with the ETN Breece Hall start. Kenneth Walker's dealing with a groin injury that, it's going to cost him early season playing time. And
are we out on James Cook?
James Cook, I was just reading Joe Buscaglia from The Athletic was saying he thinks his role is going to be smaller than people expect, and he very, very much expects Zach Moss to have a role this year, particularly at the goal line. So to me, it'd be White. Since we already have the two guys, we can just swing for the fences. He's the perfect upside pick.
I've been taking Walker ahead of White. I'm curious, Shawn's thoughts.
I think the only reason we can get Walker here is because he's currently hurt. And if you fast forward 10 weeks, I was going to argue for Rashad Penny a couple rounds ago, but I think you have to have exposure to both of those guys. He would be my vote.
I'm Walker.
I'll go Walker.
All right, Pat, you've been overruled.
Pat is not happy, but...
there's a reason he's here. The injury seems like...
But you have the whole selling point on Rachaad White is contingent value anyways. So you're going to be...
No, I know, but...
You're going to be sitting on White for weeks anyways.
That's the main appeal, but like I've said, I really think White will have a role on early downs. If Ronald Jones got 40-plus targets from Tom Brady, White can get targets on early downs. He doesn't need to get the third downs to get targets.
I think...
Training camp has been awesome for White as well.
I like White a ton too, but when it's that close and there is a massive faller, I think you have to play the ADP game there.
If he was healthy, I would 100% agree. But Pete Carroll is a liar, and he said it's not a sports hernia, but it's like definitely a sports hernia. He could be out. He could be out till week 6, week 7. Like I think it's a major concern.
Yeah, I doubt we're playing Rachaad White until that deep into the regular season too. So I just don't know if the waiting part doesn't bother me when you're comparing those two.
I think you're underrating how startable White could end up being if he's able to work in just as a change of pace guy. And we get the information on how good he is.
Let's see, like if he works in as a change of pace, it's Nyheim Hines last year, right? Like that's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Which should be, but no one's getting excited. You're starting that in like pure zero RB builds, but I don't think that's like production you have to prioritize in the 10th round.
Well, it's bonus standalone value while we get the big contingency swing versus
and there's bonus.
Guy comes back.
Kenneth Walker isn't as out as long as we think too. I do think it's really comparable, so I'd just rather play the ADP game because I do think there's a chance he comes back to us here.
Those two to me are pretty even as is, just because they're going to split an early down workload. Like if Penny got hurt, Walker would be awesome, but the beats there have been very, very consistent. Travis Homer is playing on third downs, so now you're looking at a split early down role. I think there's scenarios where we don't feel confident starting Walker for most of the entire season.
The entire season, that's
because he's in a split role with Penny. I mean, Penny was
Right.
the best running back in football at the end of the last
But that
year.
requires Penny to stay healthy too. I mean,
Yeah, it requires Penny to stay healthy.
It's hilarious that Walker's the injured one right now, but obviously Penny's whole thing is he's been healthy for like 6 games.
Right. But Penny's really good. Like, is Walker going to supplant him if he isn't hurt?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just have a hard time. He might be healthy, and if he is, that's great. But like, 17 games of Penny at this point feels like a dog. It feels like less than a 50% chance.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, his injury history's been horrific.
Shawn, any other thoughts on that?
Well, I was interested in hearing Pat talk a little bit more about how camp has gone for White and his separation from some of the other guys there. He didn't, I mean, it's just obviously a handful of plays. He didn't look that comfortable in the first preseason game.
Yeah, I like both. I think they're in a similar tier.
I mean,
I would have been psyched to get Walker if he was healthy. I mean, that would be a sweet ADP value.
If
happy
Walker
to play
was
the ADP
healthy,
game. Yeah, he would have been
Walker's
long
healthy.
gone.
He's going in the 8th. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a couple rookie wide receivers here too that are still pretty interesting.
we are away, and
I knew he was gonna. He's watching tonight too. Took James Cook. He's trying to out youth us. I really like Dotson here. What are your guys' thoughts?
Let's see. What else we
that's
got?
just miserable.
I didn't know you
part of
loved
the reason I
Rashad
leaned
White that
Walker
much.
was the ADP.
He's my highest
thing.
owned player. Yeah, I think
I
it's just a smash, an absolute smash.
Let's recover. Let's make this pick. Anyone make a case for anyone other than Jahan Dotson? I'm the only one to have said a name.
He would be the guy for me.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick.
Unless it's a tight end. I mean, the only one that would be a tight end.
Yeah, and I just feel like we saw this play out too, where I think we can. This tier of tight end, I think, might extend back to us.
Let's
in
go.
the 12th.
Let's go, Dotson.
One of the
Pat,
things when you look
they
at
both said Walker, part of the reason I said Walker was the ADP element, and thinking there was a decent shot that White might actually swing back.
Well, I mean,
Cook was going to go, and there were a couple other names there, and Melvin and Henderson being the ones. I mean, 5 running backs ended up going in the 8 picks, and he still almost got back to us.
Yeah, from trying to get both, that was the right play for sure. And it would have been awesome to get both.
Yeah.
I like getting another upside crack at a wide receiver. And Dotson's another guy too, where we talk about when you do go true zero RB, where this is the range where we're grabbing Spiller or Madison or Hines, because you're needing to get some upside running back plays. So I'm pretty excited to get a stab at Dotson here.
Yeah, we don't have any of him yet, right?
I believe that's our first. Shawn, every time I listen to you on a pod, you're talking about, you said you're reading that college DC blogger. He said he's the star of Commanders Camp.
Yeah, you have to be extremely concerned with Carson Wentz, and that would be one of the reasons why I don't really understand Terry McLaurin's ADP, even though McLaurin has had these elite peripherals. But the other problem for McLaurin is just that, I mean, Jahan Dotson has been better than him, according to everybody watching Washington. Now, does that mean that carries over to the season, which is a very different story than training camp, very different story than the offseason? I don't know that you know that. I mean, you probably have to give the veteran the edge. But if you're going to have an offense where probably there are some questions, again, about the overall production it can sustain, I think you want the cheaper piece. But especially if there's reason to believe the cheaper piece could be the highest scoring part of it. And I know it's just one pretty meaningless preseason game against the scrubs from other teams. But I also think that when you're looking at late season, there's a possibility of Sam Howell playing and making this a really exciting offense. And if that's the case, I mean, Dotson is just so similar to Chris Olave. He's a lot less expensive in all formats. And in the offseason, he's been a lot better. And so again, I mean, you're getting like multiple kinds of discount when you're taking Dotson at this level.
Yeah. Yeah, the Dotson, he's been consistently cheaper. The Olave versus Dotson ADP has always seemed a little weird to me. And Olave's ADP just like hasn't really budged. You know, we've seen Pickens and Tolbert and even Wandale, like those guys just screaming up boards, and both Dotson and Olave have just kind of chilled in their same ranges.
It is fine. I feel like there's only enough hype to go around, and it was on Dotson before, and now it's moved to Pickens.
No dead money on Carson Wentz's contract after this year. Just huge cap number, $26 million if they wanted to keep him.
Yeah.
If things are not going well in Washington, Sam Howell season. I like it.
This is definitely that 0 RB pocket here in the 10th and 11th. Walker, Cook, Melvin Gordon, Henderson, Gainwell, Rachaad White, Madison, Hines, Spiller, Michael Carter, all off the board there.
Shawn, where are you at on Spiller? Because it seems like he's behind Josh Kelly right now, but Josh Kelly stinks, so that might not last long.
Yeah, I think he would still be a very fun play if the price corrected for supposedly how he's performing in camp and what he still has to do and how early he could have that production. I'm surprised to still see him here. I think that he was a little bit of an undervalued prospect, and then he goes into that perfect situation and he kind of gets bumped up again. But it's a little bit tricky. I mean, I think that Brian Robinson there at the 11-12, I would put him in the same group with Walker and Gainwell and Rachaad White. He seems like he should be going well above the rest of that group.
Talk to me about Brian Robinson, because you'll know far more about his prospect profile, but just like thinking about it through a role standpoint, and even if he does have, you know, the goal line work and the short yardage stuff. I mean, Gibson, for as much as the jokes, he's not going away. J.D. McKissic going to play passing downs. Like, what is the path to Brian Robinson smashing? That he just completely puts Antonio Gibson on the park bench?
Well, Zachary Kruger has me on him in all of our drafts, and I am grateful for that because now I have some exposure as he continues to get more expensive. I think there's a scenario here where, one of the things I was worried about last year with Leonard Fournette is that if the Buccaneers played it rationally, you would have Fournette squeezed from both sides. But instead what happens is that he actually pushes both guys out and gets all the high-value touches. The situation going on in Washington is somewhat similar, and Brian Robinson is not the talent level of a Leonard Fournette, and we know what we think of Leonard Fournette, but he is a guy who has the size to do goal line. He has the flexibility to do receiving work. If they had somebody push both other players out, it looks like it will be Robinson. And I mean, again, you just don't want that much exposure to what is probably going to be a terrible offense. But the price there, even at 11-12, the price is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of sits in that dead zone, at least he had been, where to me, Michael Carter does represent a tier break. I guess Khalil Herbert is another guy tossed in there. And then there's kind of that dead zone of backs. And then there's all the contingent flyers after that. And so he's like a guy I've glazed over a lot, specifically in best ball, just knowing he's been drafted in like 100% of drafts just based on where his ADP is set. But maybe I need to give him a longer look, because I guess I just haven't been able to wrap my head around where he really smashes.
And that's kind of the thing too, where I have been the whole offseason, is I thought that he would get squeezed, and just, especially in redraft where you have to pick your starters. I mean, are you going to be able to pick the games when he gets a goal line touchdown? But it's
right.
Evolved into a situation where you could have a lot more than that.
I just threw a guy in the bottom of the queue. I like the guys at the top of the queue more, but I think we're going to get someone at the top. The guy at the bottom of the queue feels like he'd be a good addition to our build.
I like the guy in the middle of the queue.
Yeah, I like that's who just moved the first and second guys around. Was that you, Shawn?
It was, yeah.
You want to go that direction, okay?
The only thing, Shawn, does looking, I guess you could make the case either way on this side, the short side of the board, positionally where you think they would go. I guess team 4 after us is definitely taking a tight end.
Yeah, I like I like that Everett play. That's what you're thinking, right, Sean?
It is, and I mean, we probably wouldn't play him a ton if Pitts does what we think he's going to do, but Everett does give us the other huge potential play, and it takes it off the board for other teams. I had mentioned that he didn't seem like he was doing that much in camp last Wednesday, and then, they talked about him being this massive red zone threat recently. I just don't see how. I mean, he seems like he should be going in round 9. So,
the other thing too, if Pitts is what we want him to be, Pitts is our flex wide receiver, right? And so if you get a guy like Everett who you think can give you top 10 tight end production, and with our kind of weaker wide receiver,
that would really help us. Yeah. Everett might today, like he might be a week 1 starter for us.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Pitts is definitely flexed if we set our week 1 lineup right now.
Right.
All right. I'm putting Al's question up because he said he's a long-time subscriber, so that's good enough to get the question up for me. He missed the first 3 rounds. He wants to hear the thought process over ETN. Well, I would say, first of all, scroll back and watch, but Gretchen, you want to give your boy a quick synopsis?
Well, the wide receiver options were kind of a tier break. We were looking at, T. Higgins in the late 2nd goes, A.J. Brown in the early 3rd goes, DJ Moore goes 1 pick before us. That's a tier break for me in my tiers. We weren't as high on Evans, who we talked through a little bit, Keenan, who we talked through a little bit. Williams and Sutton are sort of the top of the next tier range for me with Waddle. Williams was the guy that we would have taken at receiver, but it did feel like a little bit of a drop-off. And so, yeah, that's the way I would describe it.
Now, Sean, why did you take Eno there? Oh, sorry, are we pretending you're not Team 4?
It's hard to keep both windows going at the same time. But
I wondered why you've been so quiet when we're making our decisions here. Where did we take Eno last night? Was it 14 or was it earlier than that?
It might have been 13 or 14.
I do remember saying something like, this feels like fucking Eno range, and then we just took him.
Yeah, it might have been the 13th.
And then we had debates on odds that Eno Benjamin outscored Najee Harris, and it was probably closer than the draft capital would indicate.
Which we can say as Najee Harris drafters.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the one thing that's nice about getting a share of Najee Harris is then you can become part of Najee Harris, the Hive, the Twitter. Like, we got to quote retweet a video on our Twitter today of Najee.
We got invited to the Discord.
We got invited to the Discord. All the high tea guys have been smashing beer cans on their heads with us this afternoon. It's just been really nice to be welcomed by that community.
The video of him running up the hill is so uninspiring. Like, it looks like an old man.
I mean, I was fired up, man. I mean, I watched that video and I'm like, this guy's going to have a game where he catches 17 checkdowns. Like, I just get absolutely fired up.
I watched it and said that I thought Sisyphean is the new the new running back.
There you go.
Sisyphus. I don't think he's ever going to make it up that hill, but it was a good effort.
Well, Chris, look, we'll own the libs with Najee. You're pushing it with owning the libs with Zeke, though. That's a bridge too far.
I feel like the libs have a pretty good track record with Zeke.
Yeah.
They've not been owned for a couple years now.
Oh man. So we have Gesicki, a little tight end run here. I definitely think we played Hamler goes. Pat.
Hamler went.
This was your guy.
Wandale.
Let's do it.
That's a fun one.
Handle another Korean sad puppy dog face if he got sniped.
I would have been fine with Hamler.
Wandale. Okay. Yeah,
Wandale is a nice to have. Rashad White is a essential get him in every draft type of play.
Sean, are you good with Wandale?
I am. He's the other one with Garrett Wilson that is the highest exposure. I do think there is one other player here, but yeah, I'm definitely very good with that. And I think that in this particular draft, we probably have a better chance for the other guy to fall, even though his ADP is slightly earlier. It's interesting with Eno over the last 3 days in FBG and main events. He's been at the 14-12, Williams at the 15-01. So very tight together there. Hamler's been in the middle 15, so it is too bad to see him go, but again, not a huge surprise.
Shawn, throw that other player in the chat, because
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time.
Also, it seems like a lot of the chat doesn't know how to pronounce his name. Chris G, I actually sent him on a reconnaissance mission to figure out how to pronounce his name. He went straight to the horse's mouth, and it is in fact Wandale. So if you guys don't like that, you can take it up with Chris, but it is in fact Wandale Robinson, and the rest of you are just flat out wrong.
Well, that is also the coolest way to pronounce it, so that's great when it fits together.
Wait, that was a bet, right?
Well,
is it actually Wandale?
It's Wandale, just like it's Rondale.
Okay.
Rondale and Wandale. There's the Moore brothers, and there's the Wandale brothers.
That's right. Pat Leonard was on Roto Football Show 2 weeks ago, and they asked him who the backup to Saquon Barkley was, and he was like, I think it's Wandale Robinson.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, if Saquon went down, now I'm sure Breida would get a ton of run, but if Saquon went down, Wandale would get used in the backfield a lot, is what his thoughts were.
Wow.
That
We're-
sounds fun.
We're one preseason game away of him getting like a couple jet sweeps from him going where George Pickens went tonight, is what you're
What were
telling
the
me.
odds?
Yes.
What were the odds when we didn't start with? We started with just one running back through 4 rounds that we would hit at least 4 rookie receivers. I want to say that was probably
Minus 600.
It was definitely minus something.
Yeah.
It was not in the plus.
It was a massive favorite.
It should have been in the plus, but it was a massive favorite.
I still see a lot of the chat trying to like push back on this. I'm telling you guys, I've done my 1,000 hours of research. I actually talked to his mom. I did a DNA test. We got kind of a family tree with genealogy, and it is in fact Wandale. And
I like this comment from Eric, the Dalai Lamas.
I like
the Dalai
that.
Lamas. That's
got
got to be a team name this year.
Yeah, exactly. The chat is they're getting royally farmed right now. They're a very nice fertile soil.
They're also furious that Wandale is too short to play running back currently.
Who's too short?
Wandale is too short to play running back.
Too short to play running back. A
position he played in college.
And you definitely need to be 6'5" to play running back.
The position where being short probably hurts the least.
Well,
I still
one of my favorite things about running backs is when they say they used to play basketball in college.
Yeah, everyone talks about that.
I wish someone had mentioned that to the Chiefs, though, before they pulled the trigger. If Robinson weighed 10 more pounds, he would be going in round 7, right? And so even if there are some mild concerns there, you're still just getting a fantastic price.
Yeah. We entered some wide receivers going off the board after our Wandale pick. Osborne, Hardman, Palmer, Parker, and Gretsch. How pissed are you to get sniped on your boy Jarvis Landry?
1401, like that's some great value right there. Could have been a nice veteran presence to our young receiver room.
Shawn, does Gretsch just pound the table to draft Landry every time you draft with him like he does with us? It's out of control, honestly.
That's been Shawn over the years. Just like the huge Landry guy.
Look, if you're watching this, don't make any memes about how much Ben loves Jarvis Landry. He absolutely hates it. Don't do it. Like if there was the meme of, Gretsch looking over his shoulder at some other wide receiver and then looking at Jarvis Landry, just don't do it. Don't do that.
Don't make a meme of him looking at AJ Brown and then looking to see if Jarvis Landry. Don't make that meme. He won't like it.
Don't do the Drake meme where he's like AJ Brown or T. Higgins. Nah, Jarvis Landry. Yeah. Don't make those.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't make that meme.
Yeah.
Any other good meme formats for this? Because you're laying them out pretty good. I got an idea of what my mentions are going to look like in a half an hour.
Here it goes. It's the guy in the corner of the room at the party, and everyone else is dancing, and they're going. They don't know that I love Jarvis Landry. It seems like some people in the chat are still struggling with the Wandale thing. I don't know what your guys' sources are, what you're reading. I literally pronounce NFL players' names on stream for a living. I do think I would know. It is, in fact, Wandale. I don't know what to tell you guys.
Chris says it's literally pronounced, and then he spells it the same exact way twice. It's pronounced this, not this, but I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm the one on TV talking, and you're the one typing, and I think you should probably trust me.
Then your Jarvis Landry pick broke the draft.
Yeah.
I'm checking in on. We have the commissioner was trying to take Devontae Parker, and it auto.
Oh, they didn't even want. Oh, okay. Oh, way back there. Wow.
Yeah.
And Parker's already off the board.
Oof. I don't know if I've ever seen this. A 4 or 5 pick rollback.
Oh, Brandon wondering. That's Pat Philhelmuth.
Yeah. Pat Philhelmuth. Yeah.
Pat Philhelmuth.
That's well known.
Well known.
Yeah. Pat Philhelmuth.
Right, I mean, let's go get a beer while they decide whether they can jack Devontae Parker from the 12 hole.
Yeah, Kyle asking Pete, television?
Dude, the amount of screenshots we get of people Chromecasting, ship chasing to the big screen. I mean, Kyle, what's your Twitter handle? I'll have everyone send you the screenshots of them watching ship chasing on the big TV. You know, I've kind of felt like Antonio Brown sometimes and thinking kind of like the greatest thing that I've missed in life is getting to watch ship chasing on the big screen, you know, personally. But, you know, it's not what you can do when you're out here on the field, you know, doing these drafts. Be like watching ship chasing at the projector at Red Rocks, you know? Just
sure, I could go back and watch it later, but it won't be the same.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's just not the same. There you go,
so
Kyle.
That Antonio Brown thing was so funny that actually made me like reconsider what's going on. Like that was so it was so funny. It can't be. It has to be kind of a bit, right?
So my thing is like Tom Brady has a really good social media team. He's still friends with Antonio Brown. I bet Antonio Brown's like, can I get one of your guys to help me with the Twitter posts to rehab my image? They come up with some funny copy. That's kind of my spin.
I believe that. I mean, it was just so on point. Like it was like the most like self-parody but genuinely hysterical thing. It feels very sharp.
Yeah.
That's an interesting guy you floated there, Shawn.
I think that's a misclick.
Shawn is, I mean, you know, I was trying to check what round of the draft we're in based on some of these names that are in the queue, but I guess we are pretty much in that territory now.
But Sammy Watkins is not a legitimate choice if it were a 30-round draft. So,
wow, we need to get you on with Davis. I think it's like his highest owned guy.
A lot of people in the chat are trying to say that the AB thing was from a meme account, but you guys are actually just the ones typing on the computer, and I'm the one on TV. And he actually got Tom Brady's social media manager to help write that post for him, and that's why it was so funny. Okay,
it's a meme account because then he retweeted it, I guess.
No, it was an original post.
Was it? All right.
It was an original post. Yeah. Did RotoWorld write that one up?
I don't think so.
Mostert goes. Gallup was the guy a little bit ago I thought made sense, but with Godwin, I actually don't think it made sense. But I don't think Gallup's price makes a whole lot of sense. I think he'd be going before sort of the wide receiver window. If he were healthy, he's not entirely healthy, but he should be on a pretty similar timeline to Godwin. He's not on like a long timeline.
He seems a few weeks behind Godwin, but
okay.
Yeah. They're asking him about week 1, and he was like, no.
Yeah, he said he's not going to be ready for week 1. But like the earlier talk was all about they were going to try to avoid PUP the first 3 weeks.
Chris says this team needs some week 1 correlation. This team needs some week 1 production, buddy. I mean, before we can even worry about the correlation.
mean, we're in Rondo. We're in. We're not going to.
What territory are we in? Shawn, what are you seeing on through the matrix here?
Well, yeah, I mentioned Paris Campbell earlier. Robbie Anderson, though, also an interesting bounce back play. I mean, then if we
are you Robbie Anderson over a guy like Isaiah McKenzie?
I think I am, because the McKenzie thing, I think it's still tricky for him to end up with fantasy production that's playable, because Shakir is also very good. And so I think that third spot gets cannibalized. Is that not the case, Pat?
I think McKenzie's running away with the job right now, and Shakir, they're talking about him playing someone on the outside as well. So
I will say, Shawn,
I like
another
McKenzie
guy you have
a
in the
lot.
queue. I like McKenzie. Shawn also has Paris Campbell. I prefer Paris Campbell to Robbie, and also very good with McKenzie.
I prefer
Vote,
McKenzie
Ben.
of these guys. Ben.
Ben, vote quickly.
I don't take either of these guys, so I'm shocked that these names are being discussed.
All right, I did Paris Campbell because that's who Shawn had up there as well with Robbie.
And then Shawn snap picks McKenzie.
Yeah, Shawn, very tricky of you there to say you don't want McKenzie just so you can.
I got you guys off of it just in time.
Why didn't this ship chaser from the 4 spot? Why didn't you introduce yourself before the night started?
I would have taken David Bell there. I'm surprised we weren't on that pick.
I think McKenzie and Paris Campbell offer some upside, but also some early season production. And McKenzie, I mean, yeah, I like his profile for the early season in particular.
Kyle, who tried to doubt that people watch ship chasing on the big screen, here it comes in from Daigle. I assume he invited Silva over. They got some popcorn, some M&Ms going. They are watching the draft on the big screen. So there you go. All right, let me get the draft back up here now. There we go.
But the Shakir stuff has been positive. The guy, Joe Buscaglia, who writes for The Athletic, was saying that he thought that Shakir basically wouldn't have a role to begin the season, and now he thinks he'll be active. And they're using him in the slot, but they're also using him out wide. He doesn't think he's going to threaten Gabe Davis's snaps, but basically Shakir is kind of got multiple paths to getting on the field somehow.
What's your... Nah, I'm not going to go there. I like the running back at the top of the queue right now. I want to get a lot more of him.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What? We're probably... Shawn, I see you floating wide receivers. Do you think you want one more wide receiver, and then that would put us, 3 more running back selections before kicker defense? Is that where you're kind of leaning?
Probably. The name that Ben threw out, I do really like. I think that he's going to be the main guy there in the second half of the season. I also think there's another early drafted wide receiver who could be the main guy there in the second half of the season. Also, we're back into the range of 0 RB candidates that, I mean, you don't necessarily look at them as league winners, but really could bring the first 6-week value. And depending on how healthy our guys are, that could be important.
Who do you guys want here?
I mean, I would go with McKinnon or Ronald Jones personally, but I don't see them in the queue with 9 other running backs in the queue.
I'm definitely on board for a running back.
I'd be good with David Bell or McKinnon. I think we probably wait on Jones if that's the target.
Shawn, do you want a wide receiver here or running back?
Let's take David Bell to make sure that we get him in this particular room, especially I think with not getting a few of the early wide receiver targets that, I don't know. I mean, obviously he's not going to be now with their offensive situation, and with the time that he's missed, he's not going to be Anquan Bolden as a rookie in the first month of the season. But he's too good not to at least keep on the roster and look at him and see how he develops over the first couple of weeks at least, and then we can get off of him if we need to.
Shawn, are you a little worried about the fact that David Bell hasn't played an NFL game?
Hey, Pete.
Oh Oh my God, how did I miss that?
Oh, he's the manager of the Reds right now. This is David Bell.
We should do a highlight reel of him managing the Reds.
I didn't see the thesis behind the David Bell pick, and now I completely understand why we did it.
That's a nice close stance home run right there.
I just love the actual highlight reel of David Bell from the Reds. I love that he's actually managing the Reds. I love that he's in a shouting match. I love that he's getting ejected from the game. Those are some good David Bell highlights from managing the Reds.
Let's just hope that David Bell doesn't go the way of Visca and never have highlights good enough to replace the David Bell, the manager.
That's true, yeah. We keep setting the bar lower for these guys.
Oh, man. Shawn, I actually want to do this one because we had this decision point last night. Haskins, I know you had a fun article up the other day, 20 bold predictions, some of it tongue-in-cheek, but some classic Shawn nuggets sprinkled in throughout. You said Hassan Haskins was undervalued by a few rounds last night. Pat brought up some good points about the other rookie, Julius Chestnut. What is your take on the running backs behind Derrick Henry right now?
Well, Chestnut fumbled in that game, so he's got to be done for good, right? No, I don't know enough about Chestnut, and I think that development there is interesting. The thing that was impressive to me was that for a guy who, I mean, he's in the mid 220s. He looked much more agile as a receiver than I was expecting. And I mean, I think that Derrick Henry is I'm rooting for him to stay healthy. I think that he's going to have a good season, maybe the last really big season. But if he were to miss and you have a big back who was very productive in college, can fill that role kind of like Deontay Foreman did last year, but also can catch some passes, that part of it. And not only did he look very good in the secondary, showing that agility at 228 pounds or whatever he is, but the coaching staff was also raving about his pass blocking. I mean, I tend to always not worry about that, sometimes to my detriment, but if you do, look at how that game played out and you hear the coaches saying, I mean, he's got this already, which allows him to then quickly get out and be an outlet option for the QB. That part of it, again, I think that big backs tend to be overvalued. And so I end up with a lot of smaller backs. But when you do see a big back at a very good price, someone who then also has maybe a little more pass catching upside than you expected, that was the part that jumped out to me.
Makes sense. We have another meme that just came across our desk. Bonus points on the Photoshop for this one. They don't know that I love Jarvis Landry. Look at the bed headshot. Photoshop. Ben's barely laughing.
But we told you not to. We shouldn't. No, we said not to do this. So you shouldn't have done this. Yeah, come on, man. We specifically said not to make this meme.
I mean, come on. There we go. More big screen.
I know that was an accidental retweet there, but
yeah,
I know you didn't actually like that. So
Pete, the block button, you got to click the 3 lines and the.
I try to keep the feed pretty clean. That's my bad.
Yeah.
Thank you, Albert, for your meme work. Jerick McKinnon does go.
One of the things here, and I'm interested in how you guys like to play this, but when I take 2 running backs early, I'm also pretty comfortable with the entire rest of the board being yellow.
We did that with the NFC team last year. We went Taylor round when the 1-2 turn, and then we went Swift on the 4-5 turn, and then because it's 3rd round reversal, and then we basically didn't take another running back, and we never found another running back basically for the entire season, and we won the league.
Would you say, Shawn, like I get that more too if you are starting, say, two of those first round running backs, McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, just looking at the board, the Barkley Swift. Does it change at all for Etienne and Hall? You know, assuming the thesis with Hall being like, yeah, he might be losing a decent amount of work to Carter early, coming on late. Do you worry about early season running back production if you only have two of those guys or three in that scenario?
Not really, because I think that either way, if there is a running back after week 1, after week 2, who's like an 800 bid, that we're definitely going for him regardless. We'll be trying to add running back firepower to the team. I don't know that it has to come in the draft. And one of the things when we take these guys in rounds 3 and round 4, we're very much admitting that we could be wrong. And if you're taking the running backs in round 1 and 2, I mean, you got to really, I mean, basically you're saying I'm not wrong, right? But even if we're saying we could be wrong, it doesn't worry me that much to be thin at running back because we are making that bet. And I think that we'll end up with enough overall strength that even if we end up kind of middle of the pack through 6-7 weeks, and one of the things is that the fantasy season can end on you very quickly, but I still think that we would see that rising, that ascending kind of team to where as we made it toward the fantasy playoffs, it just would be very, very good. So I'm not pushing to say let's don't take any more running backs, but I just, if we had yet another wide receiver that we really wanted, I'd be okay that way.
In other words, Pete, what he's saying is he is a true piss boy and he wants to continue pissing.
So the only other thing I would bring up in that scenario is because we have drafted so many rookie wide receivers, those end up feeling like very tough cuts early on. And so if you are playing for those $800 empty the clip bids, like the question is, who are you dropping, right? Because a lot of these guys you want to be willing to sit on and wait for them to develop and wait for those roles to kick in.
Because he would be someone that would be easy to cut. He just went.
Right. So how do you think about it in that context, Shawn? Because you're looking at our board here.
And every time is
who do we cut?
Be able to cut it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but to Pete's point, you know, you want him to be either an $800 bid or someone we're cutting, and we would know very, very early before the season started which one he was.
Well, I think that if Alec Pierce comes out and has a big week 1, then Paris Campbell is cuttable. I think that the other wide receiver that I basically have 100% of, if we drafted him here and he's the 4th or 5th receiver in week 1, we could just cut him and try and get him back later. I do think that a couple of guys, the two sort of sneaky receiving backs that I just moved to the top of the queue, I mean, they're guys we might want to see what they do over the first couple of weeks and actually have them on the team, not have to bid for them. So that would also be a path if you guys like those guys.
Yeah, I think the wide receiver in our queue will probably come back to us. So who is, are we looking in Abdullah territory here?
I'd be okay with Montgomery if we want to go with that.
I'm very in on those guys. I would be P. Ryan first, but I'm very in on
okay.
Too.
Okay, let's do P. Ryan because I do think we'll probably be able to get one of those pass catching.
Is that
guys,
not
right?
though, Shawn? What you're thinking? Oh, damn.
It's not, but
because you're not thinking a handcuff on this roster.
Because that's a guy that you're sitting on, right? Whereas the Abdullah stuff, you get that peak right away.
I thought you might mean that he has sneaky receiving because he could still be playing on receiving downs more than Chris Evans.
He is right now.
Evans, but yeah, he is, and
he's still ahead of Evans now.
I mean, Peter caught like 30 balls last year, 32 balls, I think.
One of those two guys will be a third down back there.
I think he was in the top of the queue, so when you said that you moved him to the top of the queue, I thought you actually were thinking of him. But he is, he's a easy pick late in every draft right now for me, P. Ryan.
Yeah, the only difference there between him and the other couple of guys we were talking about is I don't know that we need to see what he's going to do in week 1.
Yeah.
Whereas the other couple of guys we probably do.
Yeah. I should have let's go with Abdullah there.
Yeah, I mean, the play with P. Ryan, we still have 3 weeks. I mean, something happens to Mixon, P. Ryan's probably like a 5th round pick, which has value, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Abdullah's a fine pick, but I do like the contingent value with P. Ryan. I'm not even that big on P. Ryan because I think Evans will eventually take the job, but
Yeah, Evans is, definitely an issue. I just feel like they're not going to let Evans play on early downs. Like, I think his path is to just be like the third down back, be Gio. Piron's like the handcuff and Mixon.
I think that's probably right, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe by week 7, Piron's like not getting any work at all.
So we have 2 more non-kicker defense picks. I think one of them's for sure a running back. Shawn, would you still be looking at a wide receiver with one of these picks?
Yeah, if both of the guys don't come back, especially, and I do think that the receiver never goes except for when I'm drafting him in the last round.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go.
I also like to throw in.
Ronald Jones was still on the board.
Do we want to grab Abdullah or Montgomery?
I'm fine with either guy.
I am too.
Gretch? You want to finally get your flag plan of all flag pants that we haven't taken yet this season?
I'm thinking of Pat saying that they're running a Mike Shanahan offense in New England, and there's reports that Abdullah is in the James White in Las Vegas, where it might actually be more of a thing this year than in New England.
Talk it out, Gretch. This is your pick. You have to decide between Ty Montgomery and Amir Abdullah.
I'm going to take
This is
Montgomery.
riveting.
If you're going to make me I'm going to take Ty Montgomery. I gotta for the bid equity at least. We got to get some Ty Montgomery.
Roll the clip.
The 1-yard line. Tate will take the snap, hand off Taylor, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown, Arizona.
Taylor to the end zone for the touchdown.
Play you one. Tate will hand off Taylor, dives over the top. Touchdown, Arizona. Wildcats will run the play. Hand off J.J. Taylor, right side. Spins away at the 15-yard side, up to the 10, the 20, 25 out to the 30. Gets a block to the 40, to midfield, turns the corner. Sun Devil 40. Foot race down to the 35, to the 30, and out of bounds near the 25-yard line. First and 10, Arizona. Pistol set, Table hand out J.J. Taylor. Squirts through up the 50. First down, breaks a tackle and dives. Goes the screen pass, and it's caught. 35 down to the 30, 25. Over a man at the 20 and a first down. J.J. Taylor to the 10, Taylor to the 5. He leaps into the end zone. Head over heels. Touchdown, Arizona.
Oh, my goodness.
I just had to go to the bathroom and thought that was the best way to do that.
Those are some very stylish Arizona Wildcats uniforms.
You got auto-picked.
Tyquan Thornton got auto-picked after I promised Shawn. I'm down bad promising my co-managers that players they love will come back to them.
Especially, well, I guess Ty Montgomery, at least that is a player that Ben loves.
Ben needed it for the brand. If Ty Montgomery is this year's Cordero Patterson and Gretch doesn't have a share of him,
we gotta have him. We
gotta have him.
Yeah.
Shawn, are we going to be all right with 6 rookies receivers, Shawn, or are you devastated to lose Tyquan Thornton?
You got to have all of those rookie shots, right? More reports out today that Tyquan Thornton, not just a deep threat, gets open everywhere.
I will say, it is.
Where
everyone
are those reports?
knows.
Was it a high schooler? Please send me the link. I want to read these reports.
If Shawn had a shadow network of beat reporters he employed just to feed him direct information, yes. And what I want to imagine is that Shawn has a flip phone for every single team in the league. Yeah. He only gives that number out to a few.
The Adam Schefter of fantasy football, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I will say, though, Shawn, to your point, obviously the Dub stuff, the George Pickens, highly publicized. I have my Twitter list that I check for news and beat reporters, and it is every single day on Tyquan Thornton. Every day. It's just it's nonstop. I swear every day I log in and someone's hyping him up.
We mentioned earlier, one of the listeners mentioned the character issues with George Pickens, and the Patriots wanted Thornton in part because they felt like he had elite character in addition to having this 4.2 speed. And even though I mean, is there a really high chance that they look bad again for this pick with how good Pickens and Sky Moore look like they're going to be? That's a risk for them, obviously. But I think Thornton is going to work out for them and be a big-time player. It sounds like Parker is doing well. It sounds like Myers is doing well. We know that the offense needs to develop, and we talked a lot about that last Wednesday. But I guess I'm still optimistic for it. I mean, what Pat was saying about Bill Belichick being the expert, I mean, that's fine with me. If he's going to be the guy, then, you know, the best coach in football working with some of this stuff. Mac Jones, too. I mean, he was good last year. He's going to take the next step. If he gets a guy who gets behind the defense, I mean, you look at the beginning of that playoff game, and Tyquan Thornton is immediately open 30 yards down the field, and Brian Hoyer misses him, right? So, I mean, if Mac Jones can make that throw this season, it's probably a much easier and more viable play in best ball. But
yeah, I
mean, I don't know that you're going to get to the point where he has enough weekly volume that you feel like you can start him. But I don't think it's impossible. I mean, he's a pretty cool dude.
The unfortunate thing that you failed to mention throughout all of this, with all of the reports that you're reading about Tyquan Thornton,
here we go,
and Pete, that you're also reading every day, is that they come on line 2 after the Ty Montgomery report on line 1. Every day in every practice, I know, because all the ship chasers tag me on every report or DM them to me. Thank you, guys. We have the real breakout Patriot.
New bit,
Please,
guys.
no one make a meme of Ben with his arm around Jarvis Landry looking at Ty Montgomery. No one do that.
Well, I was going to say, I think Ben's gotten kind of sick of all the Ty Montgomery tags. I do think we need to shift to tagging Ben in Jarvis Landry reports that he might miss. I think that would be the ultimate service for Ben.
Luckily,
Gretsch.
there's no reports on Jarvis Landry because he's Jarvis fucking Landry.
Our listeners will dig up some Jarvis Landry reports for you, I promise. Man.
I feel pretty bad about this P-Line Montgomery combination, though. I kind of steered us on those two, and Shawn misses Tyquan Thornton, and they're probably not the right fits. I'm thinking ahead to week 1 and how Shawn's going to try to break the news that he wants to cut both P-Ryan and Montgomery for additional wide receivers. I don't think he's going to tell me. I think he's just going to put them in the waiver bids.
Yeah, that's what he'll do.
I don't notice.
Yeah. For sure.
And then when I bring him up, he's going to be like, well, no, we can take him out and be really nice about it.
Yeah.
But I'll have to just let it go, probably.
It'll be a very gentle letdown.
Yeah.
So I have a guy that I'll get back on my top podium here for.
Nice.
Now that Abdullah's
Speaking
gone.
of which, Ty Montgomery, some are calling him the Rashad White of the Northeast. I'm just going to put
They are saying that. No, you meant the Northwest.
Sean, can you write an article
It's happening in your house.
Why Ty Montgomery is the arbitrage Rashad White, just to make Pat feel better?
Yes.
We'll do.
I think we should legit take the arbitrage Hassan Haskins, who is ahead of Hassan Haskins, and normally you don't put a UDFA ahead of another rookie unless he's legit ahead. I know he fumbled, but Vrabel actually was complimentary of how he bounced back after the fumble. And this dude popped in every single number that I look at, to the point that it broke some stuff for me. He carried a huge workload, was hyper elusive, 44% breakaway percentage. He can catch the ball.
About Chestnut?
Julius Chestnut, dude. I think everything you like about Hassan Haskins, you should like about the guy who's ahead of Hassan Haskins.
I'll put the Haskins stuff aside, but isn't it the same archetype as the P-Ryan pick, where we're not going to really get any clarity on it early enough?
The clarity would get is that, they literally put Hassan Haskins on the practice squad.
I think I'd probably be like Beatty, or I don't know. But I'm fine with it. If you have
Sean, who are you? We have 10 seconds.
You better put him in the queue, Pat, because I don't see it in the queue. You take this hot dog, dude. Someone make us a Joey Chestnut hot dog highlight clip.
We just got Zach Moss.
Pat, I thought you had your guy in the queue.
No, I didn't put him in the queue. I haven't been putting people in the queue, man.
I don't know.
And Zach Moss is actually a pretty good pick. I'm not gonna lie, he's a pretty good pick. He might have a goal on roll.
Was that you or Gretchen put Zach Moss in?
This is your worst. I mean, this is the worst draft for you getting the guys that you actually want. You were typing so furiously, and then took Zach Moss.
Yeah.
I thought you were logged.
Pete literally just sits back and goes, "Well, you better put him in the queue, buddy, if you want him."
Well, I haven't touched the queue in
I haven't picked a
rounds.
single Kai in this whole fucking draft. I'm responsible for this one?
I've not made a pick in like 6 rounds. There's picks flying in the queue. You got to get in there. You have access to my account.
All right. Well.
Shawn, was that you who put Zach Moss in the queue?
It was. I mean, there's
I actually like the pick. I like that pick. So
there's got to be one share to balance out all the Devin Singletary.
Oh my god.
Let me read you. Let me get this report up today.
I was gonna say that we
away.
brought the zero RB king on and didn't let him pick any of our late round running backs, but we did. He accidentally picked Zach Moss, so we got one.
We need to get in the kicker tank here, defensive tank. Shawn,
This
have you done
report
any
today
research?
on Moss was so good.
Okay, I was really worried you were going to read a Chestnut report, and I was like, this is going to sting too much.
So Moss was written off by many this offseason. Oh wait, yeah, pick whoever. I don't care about.
Shawn, do you have any kicker or defensive takes?
No, I was gonna suggest McPherson earlier, and then I was wondering if we were getting the rare situation where there was kicker news during the draft.
Well, you guys,
Because that seems like a fall for him. I mean,
yeah. What about Matt Gay?
I feel like
Rams.
it's D first, right? Shouldn't we go defense first?
If you got one, say it.
I don't know.
I tend to go kicker because we keep them longer. We churn the D's.
Yeah. Matt Gay's Paulson's number 2 kicker.
Let's take him.
Someone's got to do kicker work over here. I guess it's me.
You guys' kicker work is literally just looking at Paulson's rankings.
Do you have a better process?
Hey, I don't see
If
you doing
someone
the
has
work,
a
Ben.
Better process. I mean, I'm open to it. You got aggregated kicker ranking somewhere you're holding out on us?
I keep getting asked for my Panthers of this year, literally
yeah.
6 times.
Yeah, figure it out,
I'm
man.
there wasn't I'd never had a DST to take in the first 3 weeks before. I just thought the Panthers were a great play last year. But the Panthers of this year play the Browns in week 1. They get Brissett. They get the Giants in their high volume passing game and Daniel Jones in week 2. They still have a pretty talented defense.
All right. This is a good point by G on the Moss
It
pick
is.
as well. The take a peek on the Thursday night. He says you get the take a peek, and also if there's the injury, you saved $500 if something were to happen to Singletary there.
Here's the thing from The Athletic. Moss was written off by many this offseason, but it's notable that the Bills continued to believe in him, evidenced by using him on reps with Allen. Moss was the first runner to take a snap against the Colts, and also the first to leave the game. In those snaps, he showed explosiveness and had cutting ability that was missing last season because of a lingering ankle injury suffered in the 2020 postseason. It helped prove that what the Bills have seen in practice has not been a fluke, and that the injury hampered him quite a bit in 2021. Now completely healthy, Moss could become an early down threat to Singletary and the team's top goal line back if his strong summer continues. Even not at his best, Moss, 1.12, nearly doubled Singletary's yards per route run in 2021. Moss was also the team's top running back down the stretch in 2020 before his injury, meaning the Bills still likely believe in him.
Shawn, are you willing to torch all of your Devin Singletary shares to go on a ship-chasing cruise with us led by Zach Moss?
heck yeah. I mean, and there's going to be more Zach Moss late over the next 3 weeks because what we saw from Singletary down the stretch last year, I don't think that's a fluke. I think he's very good, but Zach Moss, another one of these guys who could end up, I mean, I don't think that he's going to because the other 2 players are more talented and they've definitely invested in them. But I mean, if he could push both guys out, the Bills offense is going to score a ton of points. They showed down the stretch last year that there is a path to some of the running backs getting some of those points, to scoring some goal line touchdowns. I mean, some of these backs with Zach Moss's profile actually do break out a little bit later. And so if he were to have that kind of season, it's easy to think, well, he's the 3rd guy, but with the way this offense is going to work, if Devin Singletary were to get hurt, I mean, you're talking about now Zach Moss is your league winner. So at this price, I do like it.
It's also funny because there's some chats in the comment like, imagine buying into Zach Moss. Like, that was the same narrative on Devin Singletary last year. Everyone was like, and I was skeptical of Singletary. Luckily, Pete, you got me on a couple of good shares, but I wasn't as high on him as Moss. because I was like, well, we know what Singletary is.
You know the other narrative? We're in the fucking 19th round, and you can post a Swiss cheese worth of holes into any one of these selections.
I'm with Bonefish here, RW Bonefish. It sounds like they want to trade Moss for a 5th round pick.
I mean,
this isn't coming from the coaches, though.
Yeah.
This is coming from the guy watching what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's fair.
All right, let's get in the lab on defense here. But be very cryptic. If
Shawn put the Chiefs at the top of the queue. Was that cryptic enough for you? Because he wants the Chiefs in every draft, every year. He just like, they're
Chiefs on the road versus Kyler, Shawn?
Right. I don't like that.
Well, he's not. That's not the top draft, not the top defense in the queue.
It's not? It's the only one I can see.
That's the only one I see.
They get the Chargers in week 2, too. Like, they're going to be shootouts, but now it's been flipped. Die-hard Chiefs fan picks Chiefs defense. Cool narrative. Oh, I like the defense you just picked.
Let's see. This is, I spent all offseason memorizing the Week 17 matchups. It's probably time for me to memorize the Week 1 matchups.
It probably is time. I'm literally about to start writing the walkthrough in a couple days. So
yeah. Let's see. Who do the?
I think I'm number 2. I like the number 2 best. Who does the first team play?
They have
Steelers.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm in on that.
At home.
Yeah.
The number 2 is on the road.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, wow. Tipped our hand on the Bengals alpha. That's what happens.
What?
We are on the clock. Who did you say Baltimore plays?
The Jets.
Oh, yeah. Sounds great. Flacco?
Yeah.
Gimme that.
Give me that.
Yeah. Any other votes?
No.
That's
Ravens. Come on down.
Carolina Panthers are going to outscore them in week 1, but that's all right.
Yeah. All right, Shawn. I need you to recap this team. I need you to spin a yarn, weave a tale of why this is the team that allows us to get a yacht.
Well, we talk all the time about drafting the player with the widest range of outcomes at every pick, as long as you're not buying the upside outcome. I don't think that we are here, right? You have Chris Godwin. He's going to come back and be their top receiver when we need him the most. Brandon Ayuk has been supposedly a transformational player at 49ers camp and is back to looking like he did down the stretch in his rookie season when he was uncoverable. Sky Moore now benefiting from all these Chiefs receivers and other skill players having various body soreness. Garrett Wilson, the number 1 there with the Jets, Dotson, Robinson. And I don't think it's impossible that David Bell is our guy and is a 10 catch per game player over the second half of the season. We know Trey Lance is going to come through and rush for 1,000 yards. He's going to be Lamar Jackson plus because you have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle. It's almost impossible. And then you have this 4th player who is very interesting in Danny Gray. I mean, he would have to be really bad as a passer to not make that work when you consider that he also has one of the best coaching staffs in football. He's got the big arm. He could unlock these guys. I'm really glad that Trey Lance is still going here in the 8th round. I'm surprised that he hasn't climbed higher just because it's so easy to see how he scores points without even being good. And then if we're wrong and he actually is good, it's just a world-breaking type of outcome. I like Gerald Everett too. I probably have way too much of him, but the flexibility there at tight end, we know in tight end premium with the FFPC, you have to have that. I think Everett probably should be going around where Zach Ertz is going. Well, Zach Ertz should obviously not be going that high.
Yeah, Zach Ertz is going in the wrong spot.
I like the team. I mean, it's going to be a team that is fun to follow because we didn't draft a lot of locked-in production due to the wide receiver avalanche early and due to our decision to take a couple dead zone backs. But I kind of like that, and I think that, I mean, you want to be a year early on some of the evolutions as opposed to simply chasing things. I'm not saying that ETN and Hall are going to be the backs that actually make this work, but I like taking some dead zone guys here and being able to start the draft with Chase Pitts as opposed to having to start it with the 2 running backs in order to get that same type of upside. It's a fun team. And you know, obviously you're going to miss on a lot of those rookie wide receivers, but because you have so many of them and because the prices don't fully reflect what they've done this offseason, the ones that you hit on are going to be very good selections at their price.
Yeah. I mean, this is the all upside team. I love it too, because we're getting into pockets of the draft where we're not normally making those selections. I believe, right? This is our first ETN and Hall share, which are 2 guys I know all of us love. And so to have a board where, you know, the room forces us they're into those selections, it does feel fun to get shares of those guys, and then to just keep tripling down on the young upside breakouts, knowing, yeah, a good chunk of them are going to bust. They are going to miss, but the ones that do hit in such a massive way that they turn the tide for your team. So I think it's a pretty fun team.
It is. I just shared something with you that really emphasizes how good our team was.
Where did you share this with me?
It's on the. I shared my.
Oh,
screen.
yeah.
Really
Oh yes.
Emphasizes.
This is the meme we need.
That is the right meme. That's a great meme.
I also just got tagged on. Let's see. You had Chris G tagging me on Jarvis Landry ejected from Saints Packers joint practice. So we got some Jarvis Landry news.
Yeah.
Hey man, he's committed. He's committed. You know, he's not lollygagging out there.
Yeah.
I got to give it to Gobbler who did that Landry meme, because he had an incredible meme last night. Evan Silva and the ETR guys drafted a 0 RB team, and then the ship chasing guys drafted 2 RBs with their first 2 picks. You would think it would be the other way around because Silva talks big, but I heard Pete does his own mulch. I mean, what world? Imagine just reading this tweet and even just being like a fantasy football fan, but not in like, maybe you know Evan Silva, and then just like reading this tweet, like how
you're like, what the hell is this?
What is this tweet?
There's like 7 inside jokes there.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, as always, a real treat drafting with you. Always fun co-managing with you, and people love hearing your thoughts. And of course, they can do that over on the RotoViz Overtime podcast with Ben on chasing not stolen bananas. That's what I keep wanting to call it, chasing stolen bananas, because that's the name of our team. But you potting with Ben weekly. And everyone wants to know, we get it in our Discord, when is the 0 RB list dropping? Do we have a target date?
Yeah, those 3 pieces should come out next week. That tends to be the week that I like to put it. And then we'll have some articles about how to best deploy those guys in drafts, and then also kind of the update after we get the sort of last pieces of information down the stretch, because everybody should be drafting in the FFPC main event. It's absolutely awesome. You want to have a lot of teams sort of across the time period, but definitely have a lot of teams late. So don't stop drafting. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And if you want to get some late teams in Vegas, we'll be out in Vegas. We got a ship chasing party the Friday after the first NFL game that Thursday. Come join us.
And if for some reason 2 back-to-back nights of ship chasing main event drafts isn't enough for you, well, boy, are you in for a treat, because tomorrow night we are drafting with our friends. We call it the Penta team. This is with Hassan and Blair. We have drafted extreme 0 RB teams with those guys in the past in the Football Guys Championship. We have upgraded to a main event this year, so that should be a great time. We already have our email thread going there, learning.
Although
about
Blair surprisingly said his brand this year isn't going to be extreme 0 RB, so there might be some surprises tomorrow. We might keep grinding these early running backs.
I know people are so disappointed with us. Well, guess what, guys? Everyone started drafting the wide receivers and forced us to take the running backs.
Well, actually, I feel like we might need to adjust and not get buried by the avalanche for the 3rd night in a row, guys. It's been 2 nights in a row we got hit by an avalanche. I don't want to make it a 3rd.
Pete, I got one to leave. We'll leave the people with Pat's requested meme.
This is the best one. I mean, come on.
I love how both high effort and low effort these memes are. I mean, crop on Ben's face here is one of the most low.
No, but don't discount the angle of Ben's face to where he's actually looking at the ass. I mean, that is an important detail that was nailed.
We appreciate you guys. If you're tuning in, like I said, we're going to be drafting main event teams tomorrow night, a couple more next week, all the good stuff here on Ship Chasing. If for some reason you guys aren't checking out Shawn's work on RotoViz, you are truly missing out. I know he just also refreshed his full rankings as well. You can get access to those and the forthcoming Zero RB article over at RotoViz. Truly the best place to get your fantasy football ranks and information for the year. So for Shawn, for Gretch, for Pat, I'm Pete. We got buried in the avalanche, but we survived.